Chapter 29:10. Immemorial Yin-Yang ancestor knew Chu Jun's identity, but the Yin-Yang ancestor wasn't here. Luo Wuhan wasn't under the Yin-Yang ancestor's control, so Luo Wuhan didn't know Chu Jun's true identity, let alone Taijiang and Lu Fengxian. Boom! Jing Tianju held a long staff in his hand. He didn't even wait for Luo Wuhan to agree to Chu Jun. He raised his staff and smashed it towards Chu Jun. His imposing manner was like a rainbow, sweeping across the area, including Luo Wuhan and the others. Die! Jing Tianju roared with killing intent. Taijiang High Priest understood the grudge between Chu Jun and Jing Tianju, and so did Luo Wuhan. However, Lu Fengxian didn't know about it. He thought that Jing Tianju was attacking them, so he attacked with his sword. Luo Wuhan couldn't stop him in time. Jing Tianju directly clashed with Lu Fengxian. Get lost! Jing Tianju's aura was like a rainbow. After all, he was an emperor's inheritance. He forced Lu Fengxian back with one strike. However, Lu Fengxian only retreated a few steps. His sword aura changed and became extremely sharp. Whoosh! Yan Yunbei appeared out of nowhere. His dagger almost pierced through Taijiang High Priest's back. Puchi! Taijiang's High Priest was caught off guard and was covered in snow scars. If Luo Wuhan had not used a sudden thrust to force Yan Yunbei to retreat, Taijiang would have definitely died. Luo Wuhan noticed Yan Yunbei and his eyes flashed coldly. However, he didn't say anything. Yan Yunbei retreated after one strike and disappeared again. Boom boom boom. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. On the other side, Lu Fengxian and Jing Tianju were already fighting. Chu Shixian was standing at the side and had nothing to do. Yunbei, since we are acquaintances, I will guarantee your life if you surrender. Luo Wuhan squinted his eyes and looked at the void. He didn't pay attention to Chu Shixian and said to Yan Yunbei. Yan Yunbei didn't reply. He was waiting for an opportunity. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Buzz. Luo Wuhan's underworld divine general shook and dark energy surged in all directions. Dark clouds covered the sky. Chu Jun, why are you here? Luo Wuhan asked coldly. Help you kill people. Chu Jun said coldly, you know best about the grudge between me and the Quang Manor. Since I've come to find you, what else could it be? Luo Wuhan nodded, and just as he was about to speak, Lu Feng disguised himself as a stranger and wore a mask. With a single sword strike, he pierced through the defenses of the army and charged right into the middle of the army. Puchi. Boom. Lu Feng was like a tiger in a flock of sheep. His sword slayed souls, and in the blink of an eye, he had killed over 100,000 people. Taijiang's High Priest and Luo Wuhan were enraged. The two of them joined forces to attack Lu Feng. One of them wielded a spear while the other wielded a spear. In the blink of an eye, they had blocked Lu Feng's path. Lu Feng did not dare to reveal his identity, so he purposely suppressed his strength. The shockwave spread out for hundreds of miles, including the army, causing heavy casualties. Bang! Roar! Lu Feng fought one against two, and although he seemed to be in a sorry state, he was actually doing it with ease. The two of them could not see through Lu Feng's identity, so they did not think in that direction. After attacking for a long time without success, the army suffered heavy casualties. In just 2 hours, Lu Feng seemed to be injured, but it was not a big deal. On the other hand, more than 500,000 of the 2 million soldiers had died. Chu Jun, what are you waiting for? Luo Wuhan's spear pierced through the order and forced Lu Feng back as he shouted at Chu Shijungxian. Chu Shijungxian's Liang Emperor sword was hidden in his sleeves, and he was only using his own sword. When he unsheathed his sword aura was several times stronger than Lu Fengxian's. His sword pierced through the clouds and attacked Lu Feng. Lu Feng's strength had already been sealed to 40%, and when he was forced back by Chu Shijungxian's sword, he was forced back dozens of steps and coughed out blood. Taijiang High Priest and Luo Wuhan were overjoyed, and they charged at Lu Feng without any hesitation, wanting to kill him first. On the other side of the battlefield, Yan Yunbei suddenly appeared behind Lu Fengxian, and his dagger pierced through Lu Fengxian's neck. Then, Yan Yunbei's staff swept across his waist, cutting him in half. His roar filled the sky, but even so, he was not completely dead. Bang! Puchi! Yan Yunbei charged again, and his dagger pierced through Lu Feng's Taiyang body. Lu Feng's soul was directly shattered, and he died on the spot. At this moment, Lu Feng was retreating, and he could die at any moment. Taijiang High Priest's attacks were getting stronger and stronger, and he did not even bother to defend. He wanted to kill Lu Feng, but at this moment, Chu Shijungxian's sword aura changed, and it pierced through Taijiang High Priest's divine robe and pierced through his heart. Bang! Taijiang High Priest turned his head to look at Chu Shijungxian in disbelief. Seeing the sinister and murderous look in his eyes, he wanted to say something, but his throat seemed to be blocked. Bang bang bang! Chu Shijun unsheathed the Liang Emperor sword from his immortal sleeve. Holding the sword in his left hand, he pierced through Lu Feng's Taiyang body, and his godhead was almost shattered. Because Taijiang High Priest did not have any defense, he died miserably. Luo Wuhan roared in anger, "Chu Jun, you treacherous villain! You're courting death!" Bang! Boom! Lu Feng's aura instantly rose by a lot. He sent the Umbra Divine Spear flying with a sword strike, and kicked Luo Wuhan's chest. Een! The sharp sword was pressed against Luo Wuhan's head. Lu Feng wanted to kill him in an instant, but Yi Qinghan had already said that Luo Wuhan could not die. On the other side, Yan Yunbei, who was killing Lu Fengxian, cut through the void, and slashed through Jing Tianju's neck. However, just a second ago, Jing Tianju discovered that Chu Jun had actually killed Taijiang High Priest. In just an instant, he subconsciously retreated, and because of this, he managed to escape Yan Yunbei's sure-kill attack. Whoosh! Jing Tianju knew that he was being used, so he turned around and fled. As the Taigu Emperor, if Jing Tianju wanted to escape, unless Yi Qinghan personally took action, or if Lu Feng used his peak strength, no one could stop him. Yi Qinghan stood in the dark without moving. He coldly watched as Jing Tianju fled into the distance, and a cold smile appeared on his face. Boom! Bang! At this moment, a huge tail covered the sky, and directly smashed Jing Tianju back. The multicolored snake's huge tail swung towards the sky, and it transformed into a 100-zhang-long flood dragon. Its fangs pierced through mountains and rivers, and shattered order, and directly bit towards Jing Tianju. Een! Whoosh! Yan Yunbei and Chu Shixian attacked from both sides. Jing Tianju immediately roared in anger, "Lu Feng, you dare to trick me!" Bang! The multicolored snake's desperate attack directly smashed Jing Tianju away, and Yan Yunbei and Chu Shixian arrived at almost the same time. The Liang Emperor sword and the dagger pierced one's heart, and the other's sea of consciousness. Puchi! The two retreated at the same time. The multicolored snake swallowed Jing Tianju into its stomach, and a prince of a generation died tragically on the spot. At this moment, tens of thousands of beasts roared, and the army turned into trapped beasts, frantically fleeing. However, the entire beast god region was surrounded by giant beasts, and they began to crazily devour everything. Yan Yunbei and Chu Shixian joined forces to kill the enemies. The multicolored snake and the god-devouring eagle continued to devour, and even the divine weapons were chewed to pieces. Luo Wuhan's eyes widened, and he stared at Lu Feng. However, he was wearing a mask, so he didn't know who Lu Feng was. He thought that he was the incarnation of Gu Qingyu, Lin Wutian, Mu Zhuang, or someone else. Half a day later, the army was completely annihilated. Not even corpses were left. It was a mess, and flesh and blood flew everywhere, and the mountain range was dyed red. Sovereign Yi walked out with a smug face. He looked at the shocked and angry Luo Wuhan, and said, with a little trick, "You actually killed the ancient heavenly emperor's right-hand man. Not bad, not bad. Sovereign Yi, it's you." Luo Wuhan recognized Sovereign Yi at a glance. This guy was so cheap that he could recognize his bones even if he peeled off his skin. Sovereign Yi grinned and said, "Of course it's me. This sovereign wanted to use this opportunity to kill that bastard son of the ancient heavenly emperor, but I didn't expect that grandson to not dare to show his face. However, it's not bad to be able to kill so many of him." Chapter 29:11. Supreme Yi stood with his arms crossed and could not stop laughing. In this desperate situation, the dim darkness divine general seemed to have given up. Luo Wuhan sighed and closed his eyes, waiting for death. Supreme Yi laughed, "Young Master Luo, you still owe me some resources. But I'm magnanimous, so I won't ask you for them." Luo Wuhan found it funny when he mentioned what happened in the past. However, he didn't hate Yi Qinghan, much less a little guy. "I'll return it to you in the next life," Luo Wuhan said calmly. "Kill me." Supreme Yi looked at Luo Wuhan's lonely appearance and didn't want to tease him anymore. He said, "Back then, my boss promised you and Gu Jiutian that he would spare your lives 3 times. Although he's no longer here, I'm his little brother, so I have to uphold his promise. This time, I'll spare your life. You still have one more chance. Now, you can leave now." Luo Wuhan opened his eyes and looked at Supreme Yi. He realized that he wasn't joking. Even the sword on his forehead was removed. Hua! Yan Yunbei appeared beside Luo Wuhan and bowed slightly, "Master Luo, we shouldn't have any grudges. It's just a divine general. If you want to suppress it, you can definitely suppress it. We don't want to be enemies with you. I hope that the next time we meet, we won't be enemies." Luo Wuhan felt guilty. Yi Qinghan saved him once, and the crazy manner spared him this time. No matter how big the favor was, it was time to repay it. Yi Qinghan wasn't here, and the crazy manner was willing to keep their promise. He couldn't be indifferent. Hua! Luo Wuhan slowly got up. His body was covered in blood, and his face was lonely. He picked up the dim darkness divine spear and said softly, "Thank you. Go back and tell the ancient heavenly emperor that I don't want this beast god domain anymore. Let him come and get it." Supreme Yi grinned. Luo Wuhan smiled bitterly. Only now could he suppress the dim darkness divine generals divine generals divine generals divine general. Hua.Xiu. Xiu. 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 Luo Wuhan left. His heart was getting stronger, and it started to suppress the divine general's divine general. Hua! Yi Qinghan appeared in front of everyone. Looking at Luo Wuhan's departing back, he spoke up in a faint voice, "Let's also migrate away." "Wait, boss, there are still tens of thousands of people in this cave. They're all from the crazy manor. Take them all away." Supreme martial artist Yi immediately took credit for it. Yi Qinghan was stunned. He did not expect Sovereign Yi to have tens of thousands of people gathered here. However, if tens of thousands of people wanted to migrate, it would be impossible to hide it. "Boss, don't worry. I've turned all of them into members of the ancient god lineage. Back then, I hid quite a number of divine sparks and used them all on them. Those divine sparks. I used your heaven-defying Tao to modify the order," Supreme Being Yi said wretchedly. Whoosh! The colorful snake transformed into its human form and asked for credit, "Boss, I saved these people. Supreme Venerable Yi hasn't done anything all these years." Pa! Bang bang bang! Supremacy Yi and Elegance Yi started fighting right away. You punched and I slapped, punched and kicked. Instantly, their noses and faces were bruised and swollen. Fuck. How dare you spout nonsense? Be careful that this beast god doesn't kill you with one slap. Supreme Martial Artist Yi scolded angrily. In the end, Elegance Yi was much stronger than Supreme Martial Artist Yi. He was only hit once. However, his right eye was black and round. At this moment, he said domineeringly, "Am I wrong? Brat, boss isn't here, so I gave you some leeway. I don't want the god-devouring eagle to think that I'm bullying the weak. Now that boss is here, we should be on equal footing." Yi Qinghan pushed his hair with his right hand and rolled his eyes. He said speechlessly, "Shut up, you two. Arguing in front of outsiders, isn't it embarrassing? Can you be as steady as the god-devouring eagle?" The god-devouring eagle had always been loyal and steady. At this moment, when it heard Yi Qinghan's praise, it immediately smiled honestly. Lu Feng did not dare to mock Yi Qinghan's two top-grade spirit pets, but Chu Shijun did. At this moment, he sneered. He was very disdainful of such top-grade spirit pets. If he had such a spirit pet, he would rather kill it with a sword. Yan Yunbei was already used to these two's quarrels, so he just shrugged his shoulders. Soon, Supreme Martial Artist Yi calmed down and brought Yi Qinghan into the cave. He found that it was not only the people from the insane manor, but even the little white fox and the little golden crow were there. However, their battle strength was still as bad as before. They were all in a deep sleep like the rest of the insane manor's army, waiting to be summoned. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and set up a contract. He summoned them back into his bloodline and used his bloodline to nourish them. Return. Yi Qinghan let out a deep roar. It echoed in the cave and directly blasted into the army's consciousness. Hua! The army of more than 20,000 people, including the ancient massacre god, the inner sect, outer sect, the heaven-conquering camp, and the assassin army, all woke up. They looked at the current flowing light Snowy with a surprised expression. Mansion Lord! Mansion Lord! The group of people from the inner sect and outer sect who were drunk with Yi Qinghan, as well as the ancient massacre god, felt that the person in front of them was very familiar. Especially those eyes, they were clearly Yi Qinghan. Flowing light Snowy nodded silently. Looking at the people of the insane manor, he felt inexplicably happy. He smiled and said, "From now on, I am Flowing Light Snowy, the young master of the Flowing Light Manor. You are my private army, understand?" Hua! The army was excited. They all stood up and cupped their fists respectfully. Yes, young master. The army was full of divine aura. Every one of them had a godhead. It was obvious that they were from the ancient god clan. Even if the ancient heavenly emperor personally came, he would not think that these people were from the insane manor. They were former members of the elite hall. Chu Shijun Xian looked at the army coldly and reminded them, the Immemorial Excellence Hall has a very special army called the First Grade Sovereign Army. It has 120,000 people and is very powerful. After the Immemorial Sovereign War ended, there were only 80,000 people left. To the outside world, I announced that they had sealed themselves and were waiting to be sealed. In truth, I had already killed all of them under my father's orders. You can use this name to name your army and the Immemorial Yin-Yang army will not notice any problems. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. He asked in a deep voice, what weapons did they use back then? What clothes? The Immemorial Wolf Spear and the Supreme Feather Suit. Hua! Chu Shijun waved his hand and samples of the Immemorial Wolf Spear and the Supreme Feather Suit appeared in front of Yi Qinghan. Good, the heavens are helping me. Yi Qinghan clapped his hands and laughed. He said excitedly, I will find Lu Outyen and take control of the first-grade Supreme Army. They will be under Lu Feng's control. This way, the insane manor will be able to hide their identity. I have some resources and materials here. Shuehan, you can refine a batch of Supreme Feather Suit and Immemorial Wolf Spear now. This way, I can bring them to the Crimson Divine region. You can also blend in. Yi Qinghan nodded. With his strength, it was easy for him to refine tens of thousands of immemorial mystical weapons and supreme feather suits. Soon, Lu Feng handed the resources and materials to Yi Qinghan. Using reverse fire to refine the materials, his terrifyingly powerful soul controlled them and refined them at the same time. A few months later, the immemorial wolf spear was completed. Half a year later, the supreme feather suit was completed. There were 30,000 sets. There were about 27,000 people in the insane manor. The remaining 3,000 sets were all given to Lu Feng. The army left the Beast God region. There were only 20,000 people. To the ancient immortal world, it was just a drop in the ocean. No one would notice. The army entered the region controlled by Lu Feng and used the teleportation steel to quickly move. It only took them 3 months to reach the Crimson Divine region. A first-grade supreme army. Who would dare to doubt the former subordinates of first-grade Hull? This was the army that immemorial Yin Yang had ordered Chu Jun to establish. At the edge of the universe, experts would occasionally appear. However, they would disappear in a flash and it was hard to catch them. But today, a very unique guest appeared. It was a scarlet flame-horned warhorse with a corpse on its back. It was as fast as lightning and it was hard to catch up. Chapter 29:12. Whoosh! Whoosh! The scarlet flame-horned warhorse was the Flame Emperor's mount during the immemorial era. Although it wasn't an emperor, it was a true Taigu emperor. Flame Emperor was the strongest emperor in the world, so how could his mount be bad? When the Flame Emperor died in battle, Scarlet Flame didn't have time to take his corpse away and could only escape alone. Countless years later, when it returned, it actually found the Flame Emperor's corpse and brought it out of the ancient immortal world to the edge of the universe. There were even more secret agents at the edge of the universe, and they were everywhere. Their goal wasn't to find the Flame Emperor, but to find the experts of the crazy manor. The chaotic heavenly domain had reformed the 12 emperors, and their strength was on par with the Taigu Emperor and the other immemorial gods. They were stationed at the edge of the universe and would support each other at any time. As long as they found the experts of the crazy manor, they wouldn't let them go. Over the past few thousand years, this group of people had killed at least thousands of the second and third generation of the crazy manor, as well as the inner sect experts. These secret agents were everywhere, and they traveled to the edge of the universe from planets to dead stars. Their benefits were very good. As long as they caught a second or third generation descendant of the crazy manor, they would receive a heavenly medicine. If they caught a supreme of the crazy manor's first generation, they would be congratulated and directly become the Taigu Emperor. Moreover, experts would help them refine the stronger heavenly medicine. The scarlet flame-horned warhorse flew from the edge of the universe to a place where there was no one. At the edge of the universe, there were spatial storms, and very few people from the crazy manor would come here. Only the super experts of the first generation would go to the edge. A powerful secret agent was hiding on a dead star, and his eyes were filled with excitement when he saw the scarlet flame-horned warhorse fly past his head. That's the scarlet flame-horned warhorse, the Flame Emperor's mount, and there's a corpse on its back. That's... Ha 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 ha. This person was an expert in the fourth form of the immemorial elite hall, and he recognized the scarlet flame-horned warhorse at a glance. After all, the Flame Emperor's mount was too famous, so he fell into a state of excitement. This was a joyous occasion, and he actually found the corpse that even the yin-yang ancestor was looking for. Whoosh dot whoosh whoosh whoosh. This secret agent was immersed in ecstasy, and he quickly followed Crimson Flame. However, roughly 3 breaths of time later, Crimson Flame had shaken him off, and he had completely lost track of Crimson Flame. However, it didn't matter, as he now knew the general direction, and he immediately headed towards the Taigu Emperor's headquarters. There were 3 Taigu Emperors and a Space Master God overseeing the headquarters, ready to provide support at any time. Half a day later. This Class 1 Hall elite appeared at the headquarters. Reporting. Flame Emperor's Scarlet Flame Warhorse was found, and there was a corpse on its back. This expert rushed into the main hall of the headquarters. When he saw the four Supremes, he immediately knelt down on one knee and said loudly. The four experts' eyes flashed coldly, and they immediately stood up. The four of them looked at each other, and their eyes were filled with ecstasy. Where is it? When did you discover it? The white-robed middle-aged man asked in a deep voice. Reporting to Lord Emperor Killer, this lowly one discovered it in the sky above Violet Star. I chased after it for a while, but Crimson Flame's speed was too fast, and I lost him. However, I saw him rushing towards the edge. The secret agent was still in ecstasy. This was a great merit, and as long as he reported it, the immemorial Yin-Yang Emperor would definitely reward him handsomely. It was not impossible for him to become a Taigu Emperor, and the strongest Taigu Emperor at that. Emperor Killer, the Space Master God, and the other three looked at each other and nodded inwardly, killing intent flashing in their eyes. Whoosh! The Space Master God's divine light flashed, and this fourth state secret agent was directly disintegrated into molecules, not even leaving behind a trace of blood. This secret agent did not even understand how he died, nor did he understand why the Space Master God wanted to kill him. It was because he was too stupid. How could the four Taigu Emperors not be greedy for such a merit? Emperor Killer, you and I will scout ahead. Jade Emperor, Wind Emperor, you two stay behind and inform Lu Feng to go to the Heaven Domain to inform the immemorial Yin-Yang Ancestor to come and help. If we capture Crimson Flame and get the corpse of the Yen Emperor, we will split the merit. How about it? The black-robed Jade Emperor and purple-robed Wind Emperor looked at each other and did not object. Whoosh! The Space Master God and Emperor Killer worked together to tear through the void and rush towards the edge of the universe. The Wind Emperor quickly sent the news to Lu Feng's residence in the ancient immortal world through the boundary stone. A few months later, Lu Feng received the news, and his face changed drastically. If the corpse of the Yen Emperor was obtained, no matter how heaven-defying Yi Qing Han was, he would not be able to overturn the hands of two ancestors. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lu Feng took the opportunity to rush towards the flowing light hall, because Yi Qing Han was there. In the flowing light hall's young master's courtyard, Yi Qing Han was cultivating bitterly. These years, he had sufficient resources to temper his physical body. His physical body's order was reversed, and there were no laws or principles to speak of. He was completely outside the five elements. It was unrealistic for an ancestor to destroy him now, unless two ancestors joined forces. Boom! Bang! Lu Feng did not care about etiquette and directly pushed the door open, waking Yi Qing Han up. Yi Qing Han frowned at Lu Feng and asked, "What's wrong?" The Yen Emperor's mount, Crimson Flame, appeared in the deepest part of the universe with the corpse of the Yen Emperor. It has been discovered. You will lead the 20,000-strong army to the edge of the universe using the teleportation steel as the commander of a Grade 1 Supreme Army. I will stall for time here and try to delay the news by half a year. This way, you will have half a year to find the corpse of the Yen Emperor and hide it. Lu Feng said hurriedly. Half a year, Yi Qing Han's breath stagnated. He did not expect this matter to be so serious. Why would Crimson Flame, who had disappeared for thousands of years, suddenly appear? Gather the army. Yi Qing Han immediately said. Whoosh! Lu Feng quickly rushed out of the flowing light hall and summoned the ancient massacre gods that Sovereign Yi had nurtured, as well as the people from the inner sect, outer sect, and heaven-conquering camp. 27,000 people, their auras like rainbows, their divine might vast and mighty. Everyone, follow flowing light snowstorm into the depths of the universe and search for traces of the Crimson Flame Warhorse. Lu Feng said solemnly. Yes. Whoosh! Yi Qing Han appeared in front of the army with the flowing light sword in his hand. Using the boundary steel of the Scarlet God region, Lu Feng personally opened the coordinates of the edge of the universe and teleported everyone to the depths of the universe. Space flowed and time shattered. It was as if time was reversed. The teleportation steel here was even faster. It was personally set up by the Yin-Yang ancestor. If it was the previous teleportation steel, it would take at least a few dozen years. However, this boundary steel only took slightly more than 10 months to reach the edge of the universe. At this time, Lu Feng purposely chased after Yan Yunbei and delayed for more than a year before returning to the Flowing Light Hall. Lu Feng had to admit that this was a risky move. If the primordial Yin-Yang ancestor knew that he had delayed for more time, even if he had 10 lives, it would not be enough. No one knew where the Flowing Light Hall was, but Lu Feng knew that it was located in the south of the Primal Chaos Heavenly Domain. It spanned across a region of chaos and there was no way out. Anyone who entered would die. Report. Lu Feng received a message from the edge of the universe. The traces of the Flame Emperor's warhorse, Crimson Flame, have been found. There is a corpse on the warhorse. Whoosh! A terrifying aura appeared and shrouded Lu Feng. Lu Feng was so frightened that he sweated profusely and did not dare to raise his head. Also, according to a reliable source, Yi Qinghan broke through the 10 tribulations and 10 reincarnations in the ancient immortal world. A spy found traces of him, but it disappeared in a flash. This subordinate does not dare to confirm. Lu Feng purposely released a smokescreen to make the primordial Yin-Yang ancestor hesitate whether to chase after Crimson Flame or stay here to capture Yi Qinghan. Chapter 29:13. Sure enough, it was as Lu Feng had predicted. He wanted to kill both of them, not letting either of them go. He could only choose one out of the two. Immemorial Yin-Yang was still afraid that Yan Yu would let Yan Emperor go. After all, they were father and son. Blood was thicker than water. He was shocked when he saw Yan Yu agree to let Yan Emperor go. He might have known that Yan Yu would do it a second time, but he trusted himself more. Hua! Immemorial Yin-Yang appeared outside Seeking Heaven region and said coldly, "Do your best to capture Yi Qinghan and the rest of the Kuang Manor. If you can capture Yi Qinghan, this seat can help you reach the ancestor realm in the future." Lu Feng pretended to be overjoyed and kowtowed, "Thank you, Lord Yin-Yang ancestor. Go, this seat will ask Yan Yu to help find Yi Qinghan." Immemorial Yin-Yang's female voice sounded again. It was strange and creepy. Lu Feng did not dare to stay any longer and immediately left. After Lu Feng left Seeking Heaven region, he glanced behind him. He wanted to take advantage of the time when Immemorial Yin-Yang's clone was away to check out Seeking Heaven region. However, he did not have the courage of Yi Qinghan. If he was caught, all of Emperor Yuan's descendants would die. Lu Feng did not dare to take the risk and could not afford to. Hua! Whoosh! Lu Feng quickly left Seeking Heaven region. At this moment, it had been almost 2 years since Yi Qinghan left Scarlet God region. However, Immemorial Yin-Yang was still heading north. Yan Yu had created a new ancestral region at the back of Primal Chaos Heavenly region. It was called Seeking Heaven region and was extremely majestic. The moment Immemorial Yin-Yang entered Seeking Heaven ancestral region, he went straight to the point. According to Lu Feng's reliable news, Yan Emperor and Yi Qinghan have both appeared. Hua! A powerful aura appeared at the edge of Seeking Heaven ancestral region. A person wearing a dragon and tiger mask stared at Immemorial Yin-Yang with sharp eyes. Yan Yu might not be afraid of Yi Qinghan, but he was afraid of the Flame Emperor. In order to step into the ancestor realm, he had given up not just the Flame Emperor, but the entire Yan clan. He had given up on the Flame Emperor's beliefs and perseverance. If the Flame Emperor were to return, the first one to die might not be the primordial Yin-Yang, but Yan Yu. Yan Yu clenched his fists and asked with a hoarse voice, "Where did the Yan Emperor appear?" "At the edge of the universe, Qi Yan is carrying him." My people are chasing after him, but you and I both know how fast Qi Yan is. He isn't someone the Taigu Emperor can catch up to. So, one of us has to go. Immemorial Yinyang woman's voice suddenly changed, and she spoke coldly. We'll all go. We can't give him a chance. Yan Yu shouted. Immemorial Yinyang woman laughed coldly and said with a hoarse voice, You seem to have forgotten about Yi Qinghan. He has broken through 10 tribulations and 10 lifetimes, so he can't be weaker than the Flame Emperor. He has also appeared in the ancient immortal world. One of us has to stay behind to kill Yi Qinghan. Also, don't forget that the immemorial game has 2 consecutive games to trap them. Yi Qinghan hates us to the core. If we lose this time, not only will we be crushed, but our entire clan will be wiped out. The ancient immortal and ancient god bloodlines will be destroyed, and you won't have any more roots. When the Flame Emperor returns, he will definitely expel you from the Yen clan. You won't even be a Yen person. Ka ka ka. Yan Yu was furious, and his killing intent shot out. However, at this time, Yi Qinghan had already led the 20,000-strong army to the edge of the universe. He raised the banner of Elite Hall, and no one dared to stop him. Even the new 12 immemorial emperors and 12 core gods had to provide him with information. Yi Qinghan locked on to the direction and rushed to the edge of the universe. The spatial storm was extremely terrifying, and even the Taigu Emperor could be killed if he fell into it. The army was stationed at the periphery, and they shuttled back and forth, searching for the experts of Crazed Manor. However, when the experts of Crazed Manor saw the banner of Elite Hall, they took the initiative to avoid it. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yi Qinghan shuttled through the spatial storm. He was no longer in the 5 elements, and the spatial storm had no effect on him. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Yi Qinghan's speed became faster and faster. He held his sword and walked without restraint, and the more dangerous the place was, the more he would rush in. The edge of the universe was narrow and extended endlessly. Yi Qinghan stared at the void, trying to activate the Flame Emperor's great Tao. Since Qi Yan dared to send the Flame Emperor's corpse here, he must have been guided by the Flame Emperor's great Tao. The Flame Emperor's great Tao must have controlled this place. Whoosh! As expected, the Avatar appeared. The two didn't say much, and walked side by side, quickly finding the Scarlet Flame Warhorse. The Scarlet Flame Warhorse that had calmed down was pure white, and its hair was soft and smooth. It was definitely one of the best demonic beasts in the world. Once it used its second form, its body would be covered in flames, and it would be scarlet red. 2 forms, 2 types of fur, but they were both very majestic, and ordinary people wouldn't dare to get close. Senior Flame Emperor Avatar, you should let Qi Yan carry the fake corpse through the universe and hide it. I'll carry the Flame Emperor's corpse in the opposite direction and hide it in a safe place. Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. At this moment, the 9-colored Brahma heart in the Flame Emperor's mouth had sprouted leaves, and it was very beautiful. This was the 9-colored Brahma heart spontaneously gathering the Flame Emperor's soul that had been scattered for countless years. The 9-colored Brahma heart had 9 lives. Unfortunately, the Tao Inspector didn't know and didn't understand. He thought that he could kill the 9-colored Brahma heart with 1 strike, giving the Flame Emperor a chance. However, the Flame Emperor might not be able to come back to life. The Flame Emperor Avatar didn't know either. The Avatar was just a state formed by countless thoughts, and it was fundamentally different from the real body. Qi Yan didn't reject the Flame Emperor Avatar, and he even believed in it, so he didn't run away. The Flame Emperor Avatar felt that Yi Qinghan was right, but once Qi Yan appeared, it would be very dangerous, and he might die. Qi Yan was very intelligent. At this moment, he seemed to have noticed the Flame Emperor Avatar's hesitation. He immediately stepped into the air and sent the Flame Emperor's corpse to Yi Qinghan. With a wise master, there would be a righteous beast. Qi Yan was willing to die to protect the Flame Emperor's last hope. Whoosh! Hiss! Qi Yan turned into a ball of flames and rushed into the void, purposely revealing his position and rushing towards the edge. Yi Qinghan sighed in his heart. The Flame Emperor's righteousness could only be witnessed by the heavens and earth. He was ashamed that he couldn't compare to him. He wasn't a good person, and to many people, he was a heinous villain. His righteousness was only for the crazed manor, but the Flame Emperor's righteousness was for the entire world. Sigh, when can I take in such a follower? Sovereign Yi suddenly appeared and said with a look of pity. Yi Qinghan glanced at him with disdain. If Sovereign Yi was as righteous as Qi Yan, he would be laughing himself awake. Whoosh! The Flame Emperor avatar didn't say much and directly hid in the Tao. Hu, Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and carried the Flame Emperor's corpse in the opposite direction. Yi Qinghan didn't know how far he had traveled, but he still felt that it wasn't safe. This distance wasn't a big problem for the immemorial Yin Yang. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan began to change his direction and rushed towards the center of the universe. After a few years, Yi Qinghan brought the Flame Emperor's corpse to the center of the Dark Moon Star and the last Flame Tribe. A huge black hole would appear there every 3 years. Coincidentally, this month was the time when the black hole appeared. The black hole covered the sky and the stars. Yi Qinghan pondered for a long time. Then, he carried the Flame Emperor's corpse and jumped into the black hole. Whoosh! Whoosh! The black hole didn't seem to be an ordinary black hole. It was a spatial tunnel that led to an unknown place. Chapter 29:14. Yi Qinghan himself didn't know if there was life in the depths of the spatial tunnel, but he was confident that he could come out alive, so he dared to take the risk. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yi Qinghan sped through the tunnel for 4 months and finally appeared in an empty place. Everything was in a state of nirvana, waiting to be awakened. At this moment, Yi Qinghan carried Yan Emperor's corpse and traveled through the land of nirvana. He didn't find a place to rest. It wasn't a land of death, but it wasn't a land of life either. There weren't even any planets. After traveling for dozens of days, he finally found a dead planet. There wasn't even any grass growing on it, only sand and stones. Yi Qinghan reversed the laws of order and chose a place that turned from a land of death into a land of life. The leaves of the 9-colored Brahma heart took root and grew into a lush garden. It was colorful and colorful, as beautiful as a paradise. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan laid down a great formation. If he didn't see it with his own eyes, he might not have found Yan Emperor's corpse. Huff! Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. At this moment, he had already returned to his original appearance. However, his aura was more restrained and was no longer as sharp as before. He stood there, but divine senses could not sense him because his physical body was not within the 5 elements. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan went back the way he came and rushed through the tunnel. He kept jumping and twisting the laws of order and rushed out of the terrifying tunnel. Whoosh! 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 Yi Qinghan sped through the air and flew into the distance. No one could see him. At this moment, the Scarlet Flame Warhorse killed a Class 1 Hall spy and started to escape, attracting Class 1 Hall's attention. Immemorial Yin Yang got the news immediately and chased after it. However, the Scarlet Flame Warhorse was as fast as lightning. Under the guidance of Yan Emperor's Tao, it kept changing directions and hiding. It actually escaped Immemorial Yin Yang's pursuit dozens of times. Boom! Immemorial Yin Yang used the Tao of Yin Yang to spy on the universe and patrolled the endless border. He found many traces of Crazy Manor's experts, but he was too lazy to chase after them. Immemorial Yin Yang was drunk just thinking about it. He chased after the alien star in the beginning, and now he was chasing after the Scarlet Flame Warhorse. He seemed to have spent his whole life chasing and chasing after the progenitor realm to this extent. Just thinking about it made him feel that life was meaningless. Others climbed to the top by drunk and lying on the beauty's lap, but he didn't have that leisure. The Yen Emperor's Great Tao took the initiative to attack, interfering with the Yin-Yang Great Tao. However, the Great Tao powered by the primordial Yin-Yang was clearly stronger than the Yen Emperor's Great Tao that was not powered by anyone. Instantly, the Yen Emperor's Great Tao was suppressed. Boom! Bang! Almost as soon as the Yen Emperor's Great Tao was defeated, the Great Tao of Ruthlessness imprint shattered and blasted the immemorial Yin-Yang Great Tao, almost blasting it into the depths of the universe. Two supreme Great Tao joined forces fought immemorial Yin-Yang Tao to fight to buy time. Yi Mengxi appeared. She had comprehended the Great Tao of Ruthlessness, but her combat strength was slightly inferior to that of an ancestor. However, a difference of a millimeter was equivalent to a difference of 1,000 miles. The difference between an ancestor and a slightly inferior ancestor was equivalent to 100 slightly inferior ancestors. Their combat strengths were not on the same level. However, the immemorial Yin-Yang Tao was still the immemorial Yin-Yang Tao. Yi Mengxi joined forces with Yen Emperor's Tao to interfere with immemorial Yin-Yang. Yi Mengxi's eyes were covered by the immemorial Yin-Yang Tao. No one could see through her emotions, but one thing was certain. She had feelings. There were feelings in the depths of the immemorial Yin-Yang Tao. Yi Mengxi proved that the immemorial Yin-Yang Tao could be cultivated. Immemorial Yin-Yang Tao couldn't spy on the universe. He was furious and wanted to kill Yi Mengxi several times, but he was stopped by Yen Emperor's Tao. The Yen Emperor avatar reappeared in the world. His purpose was not to kill immemorial Yin-Yang Tao, but to stop him from chasing after the Scarlet Flame Warhorse and killing Yi Mengxi. Immemorial Yin-Yang Tao had been in the progenitor realm for many years. His cultivation had improved a lot, and the avatar was no longer his opponent. Even if he and Yi Mengxi worked together, they could only barely survive. Boom! Bang! In the depths of the universe, the three experts fought with their immemorial Yin-Yang Tao. No one dared to stand in the center of the battlefield. The three of them had fought for more than 3 years. Yi Mengxi and the Yen Emperor avatar were only trying to buy time. They would retreat immediately after being defeated. The immemorial Yin-Yang Tao roared, but it could only temporarily force out two hidden immemorial Yin-Yang Tao. Buying time. That was the most important thing. Immemorial Yin-Yang Tao's killing intent shot out. He smashed a star with a palm, and a figure rushed out from the star. Mu Zhuang was hiding in this dead star. Whoosh! Mu Zhuang was forced to reveal himself. Instantly, he became one with his sword and rushed into the void to escape. Die! Immemorial Yin-Yang Tao's palm covered the sky, shattering countless stars as it grabbed at Mu Zhuang. Bang! The Yen Emperor avatar had no choice but to appear. It blocked with a palm, instantly destroying hundreds of thousands of miles. Mu Zhuang vomited blood from the aftershock. Puff! Mu Zhuang screamed. He lost control of his body and slammed into a dead star. The Yen Emperor avatar shook and was almost shattered. Once the avatar was shattered, he would be completely dead. Boom! Yi Mengxi formed a seal with her palms, turning it into a merciless seal that covered the sky. She slammed it at immemorial Yin Yang's face, forcing him to retreat. Only then did he manage to protect the Yen Emperor avatar. The experts of Crazed Mansion appeared one after another. Because the border was no longer a safe place, the experts who were in deep slumber were awakened and fled in all directions. Immemorial Yin Yang seemed to have found a way. He kept slamming at the experts of Crazed Mansion, forcing the Yen Emperor avatar and Yi Mengxi to resist. Puff! Yi Mengxi was almost shaken out of her merciless Tao. She coughed out blood, and her white robe turned completely red. Hiss! The warhorse neighed, and Scarlet Flame turned into a ball of flame and rushed from the edge of the battlefield. Immemorial Yin-Yang forced the two experts to retreat and chased from afar. Whoosh! Whoosh! Bang! The scarlet flame horse stepped on the void and crossed a star system in an instant. However, the distance between them was constantly shortened. Its speed was far inferior to immemorial Yin-Yang. Hiss! Scarlet flame horse let out a long hiss as if it was lamenting. It had really used up all its strength. Yi Mengxi charged forward again. Her eyes were red, and merciless seals shot out from her eyes. They gathered in her palms and slammed at immemorial Yin-Yang Celestial Emperor. Boom! Immemorial Yin-Yang Celestial Emperor had no time to kill Scarlet Flame and the corpse on its back. He could only turn around and attack Yi Mengxi. Gotcha! Her merciless Tao almost collapsed. Yi Mengxi's body was twisted and she flew back countless miles. She almost died on the spot. Ants! Do you think you can go against an ancestor? Immemorial Yin-Yang Celestial Emperor said disdainfully. He waved his hand, and the immemorial Yin-Yang Celestial Emperor sword appeared in his hand. The current ancestor was definitely not the same as when he had just refined the alien star. After the immemorial Yin-Yang Celestial Emperor had refined half of the alien star's origin, his strength had more than doubled. The experts of Crazed Mansion were in despair. The ancestor realm was too terrifying. Even if someone stepped into the ancestor realm, they would not be a match for immemorial Yin-Yang Celestial Emperor. Moreover, they had not even reached the half-ancestor realm. The wooden dummy was already strong enough, but it still could not withstand the aftermath of immemorial Yin-Yang Celestial Emperor's attack. Today, Yen Emperor will be completely dead. Crazed Mansion will no longer exist. The merciless Tao will disappear. Yen Emperor's Tao will also collapse. Immemorial Yin-Yang Celestial Emperor swore coldly. I also hope that everyone can agree with my point of view. However, there are always two sides to every matter when looking at it from different angles. I won't force it. Chapter 29:15. Yi Mengxi was defeated, and so was the Flame Emperor's Dharma body. Who else could stop the primordial Yin-Yang? Qi Yen fled with a corpse in tow, streaking across the sky like a bolt of lightning. The immemorial Yin-Yang sword pierced through everything and broke through the void. Then, a palm covered the sky and suppressed Qi Yen. Whoosh! Bang! At this moment, a figure broke through the void and turned into a flaming palm print, which collided with the primordial Yin-Yang palm. Boom! Flames rushed into the sky, and the two palms collided. The void kept collapsing, and the Yin-Yang 8 trigrams and the heaven-defying Tao appeared at the same time, surpassing the heaven-defying Tao. Yi Qinghan arrived in time. In order to save Qi Yen, he had to expose his identity. All awakened members of the Insane Manor, kill all of the people from Class 1 Hall. The final battle begins today. Yi Qinghan's sudden attack sent the primordial Yin-Yang palm flying for thousands of feet. Then, he roared, waved his hand, and stepped on the collapsed void to attack the primordial Yin-Yang palm. Although his combat strength had not reached its peak, and he could not defeat two progenitors, dealing with one progenitor was not a problem. Roar! The primordial Yin-Yang palm released its aura, and the 8 trigrams covered half the sky. It glared angrily. It did not expect Yi Qinghan to really return, and he was not in the ancient immortal world as Lu Feng said, but in the borderlands. Kill! A large number of experts from the Insane Manor appeared, including Gu Qingyu, Mu Zhuang, Sui Shuguang, Li Peiza, Jiang Jingtian, Qitian Monkey King. The Taigu Emperor of the Insane Manor had all awakened. Their numbers were far inferior to the Taigu Emperor, but their strength was great, and their unity was strong enough. Although the Flame Emperor's Dharma body and Yi Mengxi were defeated, they were still stronger than a half-ancestor. At their peak, they could kill a Taigu Emperor, and now that they were injured, they could restrain 5 or 6 Taigu Emperors. The battle between experts caused the sky to fall and the earth to crack. Qi Yan roared, burning thousands of miles away. The borderlands fell into a disaster. Wars broke out between the major planets. The first, second, and third generations of the insane manor had appeared, and the inner sex experts were attacking Class 1 Hall's experts. Inform Yan Yu to come to the borderlands. The immemorial Yin Yang roared furiously. At this moment, he could no longer divert his attention to use the Great Tao to transmit messages. Once he was distracted, Yi Qinghan and the Inferno Emperor's Dharma body could kill him instantly. But at this moment, Gu Qingyu and Qitian Monkey King had joined forces to destroy the headquarters of Class 1 Hall in the borderlands. The special transmission channel was directly cut off. The Supreme Ancient Emperors of Class 1 Hall surrounded the two of them and engaged in a frenzy. More and more experts were trapped. However, Yi Qinghan had the foresight to place the so-called first-grade Supreme Martial Artist Army near the teleportation stele. The moment Yi Qinghan appeared, he locked the teleportation boundary stele in advance. The secret agent of first-grade Hall wanted to use the teleportation boundary stele to send a message to the ancient immortal world, but he was killed the moment he reached the teleportation boundary stele. Of course. They didn't expect that Of course, they died quietly. After hundreds of times, of course. Many people were near the teleportation boundary, but they didn't activate it. So the Taigu Emperor came to find out the reason. The Rank 1 Supreme Martial Artist Legion did not move an inch and looked straight ahead. The immemorial wolf spear shone with cold light, and the Supreme Martial Artist feather robes fluttered in the wind. They were definitely elites among elites. The Taigu Emperor didn't suspect the betrayal of the of. He stepped into the teleportation boundary and asked, "What's going on? Why isn't the teleportation boundary activated?" No one replied. The place fell into a deathly silence. Who is the one in charge of the of? Step forward, the primordial emperor roared as he swept his cold gaze around the area. Whoosh! An expert stepped forward. His cultivation was comparable to that of an immemorial divine general, but he wasn't famous. He had a cold expression on his face as he performed the special etiquette of the of immemorial era. Sir Taigu Emperor, the commander went out to search for the Flame Emperor's corpse. I, Bai Qishue, am in charge of this place. The expert held the ancient wolf spear tightly. His whole body was tense. Killing intent had already appeared in his heart. They wanted to work together to kill the Taigu Emperor. An army of 27,000 was at most a small team. Even if they had a lot of experts, it was impossible for them to shake the Taigu Emperor. However, this team was special. Their ancient wolf spears contained Yi Qinghan's sure kill attack. The power of the ancient wolf spears was heaven-defying. Their destructive power was definitely not as great as when Yi Qinghan used it himself. In fact, it was only 1,000th of the power. However, when thousands of ancient wolf spears attacked together, killing the Taigu Emperor would be easy. They were waiting patiently for the chance to kill the Taigu Emperor. The Taigu Emperor of Class 1 Hall frowned as he looked at the teleportation tablet. He asked coldly, "Bai Qishue, let me ask you. Where are the teleporting spies that approached the teleportation tablet? Why didn't they activate it?" Bai Qishue coldly replied, "Sir Taigu Emperor, I did not see anyone activating the teleportation tablet. Perhaps they were intercepted by the people of Insane Manor. They did not appear here." The Taigu Emperor of Class 1 Hall was furious. He shouted, "Go and send a message to Lu Feng. Tell him to inform Lord Yen Zhu to come to the border." Whoosh, boom. At that moment, the experts of Insane Manor had begun their counterattack. The Flame Emperor's Dharma body and Yi Mengshi had joined the battle. Shi Gu and the others had also appeared. Even Crimson Flame had joined the battle. Although Class 1 Hall had a lot of Taigu Emperors, they were currently being suppressed. This Taigu Emperor could not just leave. After all, a Taigu Emperor's strength was too important. Things like sending messages should be left to the spies or other people. Bai Qixue slowly raised his head and looked directly at the Taigu Emperor. He cupped his fists and replied, "Sir Taigu Emperor, we are under the control of Class 1 Hall's Hall Master Lu Feng, flowing light manners, flowing light snow. You do not have the authority to order us around. It is better for you to let Class 1 Hall's spies do something as trivial as sending messages." The Taigu Emperor of Class 1 Hall was furious. He waved his hand and slapped Bai Qixue, sending him flying. "You are courting death. Go to the ancient immortal world immediately. If you dare to disobey my orders again, I will execute you on the spot," the Taigu Emperor of Class 1 Hall scolded coldly. Bai Qixue crawled up with difficulty. A cold light flashed in his eyes. He touched his cheek with his right hand, and the 5 fingerprints were clearly visible. The tearing pain almost made him faint. However, the willpower of Insane Manor was much stronger. He bowed slightly and said, "Yes, sir." The Taigu Emperor snorted coldly and turned to leave. Whoosh! Boom! The ancient wolf spear in Bai Qixue's hand trembled and pierced through the void. Then, the 3,000 men of the first column burst forth almost at the same time. The spear swept through the sky and pierced through the universe, drowning the Taigu Emperor. The Primordial Emperor from Class 1 Hall was instantly shocked. He swung his palm to strike at the wolf spear that came charging at him from behind, but the inverse law order stored in the wolf spear was activated, and it pierced through the Primordial Emperor's defenses with brute force. One strand of power might not be scary, but when 3,000 strands of power erupted at the same time, it was extremely terrifying. Bang! Boom! Ah! The Taigu Emperor screamed miserably. Dozens of ancient wolf spears stabbed into his body. The inverse law order continuously destroyed the Taigu Emperor's life force. In an instant, the teleportation steel shone with a dazzling light. "You are the one who is courting death, not me." Bai Qixue roared angrily and kicked the Taigu Emperor's face. Boom! Bang! The Taigu Emperor was sent flying. Then, another 1,000 spears pierced through the void and pierced the Taigu Emperor's body, nailing him to the ground. Chapter 29:16. This Taigu Emperor was probably the most wronged Taigu Emperor to have ever died. He did not expect that the special forces of Class 1 Hall would betray the immemorial Yin-Yang sect. The immemorial Yin-Yang sect was in the deepest part of the border. How far could they be? This was completely out of his control. In addition, Yi Qinghan had purposely stored energy in the immemorial wolf spears. Although they were not strong, the power of thousands of spears erupting at the same time was still considerable. Even the experts of the Insane Mansion were stunned by this change, let alone the Taigu Emperor and the other experts of Class 1 Hall. Whoosh! Boom! The war flag of Class 1 Hall broke, and the war flag of the immemorial Yin-Yang sect became the war flag of the Insane Mansion. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! The war flag swayed in the wind. Bai Qixue directly ordered the army to destroy the teleportation tablet, not giving anyone a chance to send a message. Insane Mansion disciples, return to your positions. Bai Qixue shouted angrily. Now that they had been exposed, there was no need to hide anymore. Otherwise, it would be a great loss if the Insane Mansion attacked. Boom! More than 27,000 spears pierced through the void, and their roars shook the sky. The army moved in unison, and their momentum soared to the sky, waiting for the enemy to attack. The experts of the Insane Mansion attacked crazily, and they directly scattered Class 1 Hall. Everyone was scattered, and they rarely used an army in the war. It was time to show their individual strength. Every star was a battlefield, and the insane mansion was intercepting every secret agent of Class 1 Hall who wanted to leave to send a message. The final battle had officially begun, and the slumbering inner sect army of the insane mansion had all awakened. Experts fell one after another. Blood dyed the sky red. The sky seemed to have been dyed red. The immemorial Yin-Yang sect was burning with anger. He did not expect that the immemorial Yin-Yang sect would betray him, and he even ambushed a Taigu emperor, causing the Taigu emperor to die. At this time, losing a Taigu emperor was an unbearable loss. The Tao of Yin and Yang soared to the sky. He wanted to use the death battle to stimulate the Tao of man and warn Yenyu. Roar! Boom! The immemorial Yin-Yang emperor sword shattered the order, and people outside the 5 elements did not dare to let him attack. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Yi Qinghan seized the space, and gathered qi into a blade that swept in all directions. Wherever it passed, the space storm was destroyed. The primordial Yin-Yang emperor was in the ancestor realm, while Yi Qinghan was not. He was only in the half-ancestor realm, but he had one advantage, and that was that he was completely outside of the 5 elements. The two sides were almost evenly matched, and their battle was extremely bitter. Half a day later, ancestral blood sprinkled down, directly destroying a star. Boom 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 boom. Boom 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 boom. The attacks of the two had yet to trigger the most powerful deathmatch, but their power was enough to shake the heavens. The saber light and the sword shadows displayed the limits of the saber to the pinnacle. The heaven-defying Tao covered time and space, and it transformed into a dragon and tiger with the primeval grand Tao of Yin and Yang that fought for supremacy in the sky with a shocking imposing aura. Roar! Yi Xiaosa transformed into a flood dragon and rushed to the right side. The spirit-eating eagle transformed into the left wing. The dragon roared and the eagle roared. The border was shattered. The two spiritual pets were connected to Yi Qinghan's mind. They looked more like dragons and tigers. Yi Xiaosa and the God-Eater Eagle's combat power wasn't enough to threaten primordial Yin-Yang, but it was enough to disrupt his mind. Yi Xiaosa's main body's fangs were enough to make primordial Yin-Yang wary. Bang! Boom! The Emperor's sword transformed into a sword dragon, swallowing the heavens and the earth. Its power could cover the sky. Yi Qinghan stepped on the spatial storm and casually condensed it again. Once it was broken, he would condense it again. He became more and more familiar with the heaven-defying Tao, and his battle prowess began to increase. The primordial Yin-Yang eyes could see through all laws of order and could quickly find Yi Qinghan's new weakness. There were a few times when he almost severely injured Yi Qinghan. However, after the primordial Yin-Yang eyes found a weakness, he would quickly change his tactics. His combat strength was rising and his injuries were recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. The two great Taos tore at each other crazily. Once the great Tao collapsed, the owner of the great Tao would be easily killed. Between heaven and earth, the great Tao of Yin and Yang converged at the border. The primordial Yin-Yang had given up on the ancient immortal world and began to strangle Yi Qinghan and heaven-defying Tao with all their might. The two had been fighting for more than 100 years. Yi Qinghan was still losing overall and needed to break into the ancestor realm to kill the primordial Yin-Yang. Hu, dong dong dong, the high-intensity battle between ancestor realm experts was something the two supreme beings couldn't endure. Their breathing was heavy, as if thunder exploded, rumbling endlessly. The two stood at the border of the nirvana beginning and glared at each other. Being the dictator of eternity is nothing more than this. If I step into the ancestor realm, you can just wait for your death. You might be able to sever eternity, but you can't sever the present. Yi Qinghan said coldly. The primordial Yin-Yang's eyes changed. They were charming and flirtatious, but deep down, they were very gloomy. After entering the ancestor realm, you can't do anything to this ancestor. Back then, I could control your trajectory through eternity. Now, you can't overturn the heavens. The primordial yin-yang female's soft voice sent chills down one's spine. Hu, Yi Qing Han exhaled a long breath of turbid air and restrained his killing intent. He really wanted to know what the hell was the seeking heaven domain and what was going on with the primal chaos heavenly domain. I really want to know how you were born. How did those Taigu emperors appear out of thin air? Yi Qing Han was very puzzled. With heavenly medicines, it wasn't strange to nurture a few Taigu emperors, but how could the primal chaos heavenly domain produce a Taigu emperor? Your understanding of this universe is just a drop in the ocean. Do you think you are invincible outside of the 5 elements? The primordial yin-yang female sneered. Yi Qing Han replied confidently, I don't dare say I'm invincible, but I'm very confident that I'm only half a step away from being invincible. Wait 100,000 years for me to step into the ancestor realm. Then, killing you won't be a problem. Ha 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 ha, he he he, the primordial yin-yang male and female voices alternated. Their laughter was extremely strange, as if they were mocking him. Whoosh! Whoosh! Suddenly, the primordial yin-yang female split into 2, becoming 2 ancestor realm experts. 1 male and 1 female. Both of them were corporeal and not phantoms. Now, do you still dare to say that you want to kill me? The male and female, 1 yin and 1 yang, spoke in unison. There was no emotion in their eyes, only cold killing intent. Yi Qing Han's breath stagnated, and he said in a hoarse voice, You're not human, but formed from the great Tao. Ha 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 ha, he he he, the primordial yin-yang immortal emperor's figure turned, leaving afterimages everywhere, surrounding Yi Qing Han. His laughter came from all directions, making one's hair stand on end. You know it too late, Yi Qing Han. I didn't expect you to deliver yourself to me before breaking into the ancestor realm. I deliberately fought a war of attrition with you so that you wouldn't have the strength to escape. Since you're here today, then stay. The Flame Emperor will accompany you. The primordial yin-yang immortal emperor showed his full strength, representing 2 ancestor realm experts. Whoosh! The primordial yin-yang 8 trigrams hung in the nirvana void, completely wrapping Yi Qing Han in it, leaving him with no way to escape. Countless bronze mirrors hung above the 8 trigrams, as if there was an ancestor realm expert in each of them, possessing the power to kill half-ancestor realm experts. To fulfill your small wish, I'll tell you, the primal chaos heavenly domain is the order of the firmament, but it's controlled by me. The order transformed into the Taigu Emperor, protecting the order of the world. As a law enforcer, he should be emotionless, but if the world is emotionless, how emotionless would it be? Therefore, I used a little trick to control the firmament and made the Taigu Emperor work for me. With the primal chaos heavenly domain, I'm invincible. So what if you're an ancestor realm expert? Can you destroy the firmament? Ha 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 ha, unless you want to destroy yourselves. The primordial yin-yang immortal emperor roared, his killing intent soaring to the sky. His eyes were full of ridicule, because he knew that Yi Qing Han couldn't escape. The primordial yin-yang 8 trigrams heaven-covering formation was meant to deal with Yi Qing Han and the Flame Emperor. Now that it appeared, its power was revealed. Chapter 29:17. Things were developing in a direction beyond Yi Qing Han's control. He was not in the 5 elements, but in this universe. The primordial yin body was not a person, but a manifestation of the great Tao of yin and yang. 1 yin, 1 yang, 2 progenitors, yin and yang in one body. It was terrifying to the extreme. Once the primordial yin-yang 8 trigrams heaven-shrouding array was formed, even Yi Qing Han would find it difficult to break it without fighting for more than 100 years. Furthermore, it had already been fighting for more than 100 years. How much strength could it have left? The true killing blow would always be left for last. The primordial yin-yang had been waiting for this opportunity. Yi Qing Han smiled bitterly. He did not expect the primordial yin-yang to be so powerful. He did not even know where the primordial yin-yang was, so how could he fight it? How was he supposed to fight? Yi Qinghan was also asking himself the same question. The next step would be very difficult, and he might very well lose his life here. Right at this moment, Yi Qinghan shrunk his head as he lay on Yi Qinghan's shoulder. He raised his head and narrowed his eyes as he looked at the 8 trigrams yin-yang formation. Bronze mirrors were everywhere, and there were primordial yin-yang clones everywhere. It was impossible to tell if they were real or fake. This yin-yang person is so cunning. I really don't know how he gave birth to a child. He sleeps with himself. Even I can't do such a shameless thing. I've really broadened my horizons. Supreme Yi stared at the 8 trigrams formation and said in a muffled voice. Whoosh! It was obvious that the 8 trigrams formation had some emotional fluctuations. The primordial yin-yang's position was slightly exposed, causing it to have no choice but to change its position. This grandson actually got angry and did such a shameless thing. I thought he was really shameless, Supreme Yi mocked. Yi Qinghan smiled. He didn't expect the primordial yin-yang to have such strong self-esteem. Boss, don't worry. This kind of gossip is used by low-level scammers to deceive people where we are. I can find out where he is in a minute, Supreme Yi said proudly. Yi Qinghan was rather surprised. Where did this guy come from? No, it should be said, where did this guy's father come from? What the hell did he pass down to Supreme Yi? If he could really break through the yin-yang 8 trigrams, it could only be said that Supreme Yi's father was too awesome. Qian, Can, Zhen, Zhen, Sun, Li, Kuan, and Dui are the positions of the 8 trigrams. This guy is hiding with his tail between his legs, waiting for an ambush. Qian represents heaven. Although the heavenly Tao is suppressed, he can't completely control it, so he won't hide in the Qian position. Zhen represents mountain, Zhen represents thunder, and its evolution is extreme yin. Li represents fire, and it also represents extreme yang. Can represents water, and it represents yin. Therefore, this coward's best position is either Zhen, Li, or Kansas. Zhen is in the east, Li is in the south, and Kan is in the north. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed coldly as he looked at the Zhen, Li, and Kan positions. One in the east, one in the south, and one in the north, forming an isosceles triangle with his position. Whoosh! The yin-yang 8 trigrams formation became restless and radiant. Countless afterimages spun around and moved through the void. Yi Qinghan could clearly sense the anger of the primordial yin-yang. Supreme Yi guessed correctly. However, it was not entirely correct. Yin-yang was now in the ancestral position. It might be easier to expose his position in other positions, but it did not mean that he could not hide his true body. I'm guessing that this yin-yang transvestite must be flustered and exasperated. He's constantly changing his position, but no matter how many changes there are, it's still the same. There are only 8 positions in total, and he can't create a 9th position. Supreme Yi said with a sly smile. Boom! Roar! The primordial yin-yang was furious. He stabbed out from the Qian position with his sword and roared, "Damned feathered beast, that's enough." The Qian position was indeed easy to expose. As soon as the primordial yin-yang attacked, Yi Qinghan quickly sensed it and intercepted it in advance. The sword and saber collided, shaking the formation until it shone brightly. Damned transvestite! Damned pervert, sleeping with yourself! Didn't your father teach you that close relatives can't get married and have children? Aren't you a close relative? It's between you and yourself. You shameless bisexual. Supreme Yi was not afraid at all. With Yi Qinghan around, he was not afraid even if the Heavenly King came. Therefore, he stood up and scolded the primordial yin-yang. Huff, 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 the primordial yin-yang took a deep breath. The killing intent in his eyes was already extremely dense. In front of Supreme Yi, it was really difficult to control his emotions. Ha ha ha, although Supreme Yi did not look human, his actions and expressions were even more wretched and despicable than humans. They had a new style. This yin-yang person is actually so stingy. It's as if I stepped on his tail. When you were born, you didn't completely evolve. Haven't your tail bones evolved yet? Ha 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 ha. Supreme Yi laughed loudly and said to the primordial yin-yang, I really feel ashamed to be in the same realm as you. I've also reached the ancestor realm. It's just that I haven't revealed it yet. Despicable ancestor. The primordial yin-yang stood in the Li position and asked coldly. Supreme Yi did not feel ashamed at all. Instead, he happily agreed and said despicably, this yin-yang person doesn't have anything else, but his eyes are good. He actually knows that I've stepped into the despicable ancestor realm. He, the primordial yin-yang suddenly laughed out of extreme anger. His figure flashed and returned to the Li and Zhen positions respectively. Then, he disappeared without a trace. Next, I will kill your despicable spirit pet. The primordial yin-yang said coldly through the 8 trigrams yin-yang. Voices came from all directions. Every person in the bronze mirror was in a different attacking posture, as if they were about to attack. Whoosh! When Supreme Yi heard this, he directly hid in Yi Qinghan's arms and stretched out his head to curse, yin-yang person, if you can't kill me next, you'll be my grandson. Whoosh! Supreme Yi's figure flashed and hid in Yi Qinghan's bloodline. Unless he killed Yi Qinghan first, the primordial yin-yang really could not kill Supreme Yi. Yi Qinghan's eyes pierced through the void. His body began to change and gradually turned into nothingness. He actually disappeared inexplicably. He could not be seen, nor could his divine sense. His body and soul were no longer in the 5 elements. Yin-yang, you have a backup plan. I can't defeat you, but you can't kill me either. Let's slowly waste our time here. I want to see if Yan Yu or Senior Yan Emperor revives first. Yi Qinghan said coldly. The primordial yin-yang could not afford to waste time. Yan Emperor would definitely return. It was just a matter of time. However, Yan Yu was still in the ancient immortal world. He did not know that Yi Qinghan was in the borderlands. At this moment, he was searching the ancient immortal world. Because the news of Yi Qinghan being in the ancient immortal world was told to him by the primordial yin-yang, Yan Yu had no choice but to believe it. Moreover, what the primordial yin-yang did not know was that Lu Feng had already betrayed them. Even if the news was passed to Lu Feng, it would not reach Yan Yu. Boom! Whoosh whoosh whoosh! The primordial yin-yang attacked the space within the formation wildly, blasting everything into nothingness. However, it could not make Yi Qinghan appear. This lasted for hundreds of years. Yi Qinghan could not break free from the yin-yang 8 trigrams formation and the primordial yin-yang could not force Yi Qinghan out. However, at this moment, someone finally broke through the seal of the crazy manor and arrived at the ancient immortal world through the teleportation formation. Then, they teleported to Lu Feng's manor. Only then did Lu Feng know that the final battle had begun in the borderlands of the universe. The 3 spies were extremely tired. They could only ask Lu Feng to inform Yan Yu to go to the borderlands to support them. Whoosh! Poochie! Lu Feng was as fast as lightning. In an instant, he stabbed out 3 times, killing the 3 ancient immortals. His eyes were cold and ruthless. The final battle was coming. He had no choice but to help Yi Qinghan. Looks like I have to interfere with Yan Yu's vision and keep him in the ancient immortal world. Lu Feng's figure flashed and entered another region to find Yan Yunbei. At this moment, Yan Yunbei also knew that a great battle had begun in the depths of the universe. He was anxious and wanted to participate in the battle. However, Lu Feng suggested another method. Disguise yourself as the mansion master and let Yan Yu believe that the person of the 10 tribulations 10 lives is in the ancient immortal world. Lu Feng said solemnly. Chapter 29:18. Lu Feng's suggestion was very reasonable. He had already given up on being loyal to immemorial Yin Yang. Moreover, he had no way out after killing the messenger. Yan Yunbei let out a breath of turbid air. Disguising as Yi Qinghan was very dangerous, but he had no other choice. He had to keep Yan Yu in the ancient immortal world. I'll disguise as Yi. You go and block the teleportation array at the border of the ancient immortal world. We can't let anyone send messages in. Otherwise, we won't be so lucky next time. Yan Yunbei immediately reminded. Lu Feng nodded and said, that's not a problem. Since I've already killed the messenger, I won't let anyone else live. I've arranged for 2 Taigu Emperor-level experts from my clan to teleport from the center of the universe to the entrance of the ancient immortal world. I'll also arrange for a Taigu Emperor from my clan to be sent to the entrance of the ancient immortal world. 4 peak 4th form experts. Today, no one who returns from the border of the universe will be able to survive. Quang Manor will definitely repay this favor in the future. Yan Yunbei cupped his fists and said. Lu Feng smiled and cupped his fists. I believe Quang Manor will repay this favor. Let's move separately. I've already sent someone to inform Chu Jun. He'll rush to the border of the universe to support Quang Manor. Hua. Lu Feng finished speaking and left in a flash. Yan Yunbei began to look for the best disguise master. He disguised himself as Yi Qinghan and forged a new 7-foot berserk hammer. Its power was definitely not as strong as the real one, but it was enough. Hua. Using stellar transposition, Yan Yunbei entered Giant Spirit region, the former territory of Emperor Giant Spirit. Immortal Emperor Kai Yuan, the enemy of Crazy Manor, was there. Back then, Yi Qinghan killed several immortal emperors from the deathless immortal world. Kai Yuan was the only one who managed to escape. This guy had been relentlessly pursuing Crazy Manor all these years and earned the trust of ancient heavenly emperor. Yan Yunbei's strength was only on par with the Taigu emperors. If he were to fight openly, it would be very difficult for him to severely injure Kai Yuan. With Yi Qinghan's cultivation of 10 reincarnations, it would be very easy for him to kill the Taigu Emperor in an instant. Therefore, if he wanted to kill Kai Yuan and make the ancient heavenly emperor believe that Yi Qinghan was the culprit, he would have to assassinate Kai Yuan first. Then, he would have to forcefully destroy the corpse and leave no trace behind. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yan Yunbei withdrew crazed gravity back into his body. Holding a dagger in his hand, he swiftly entered the giant spirit realm. As soon as he entered the giant spirit realm, Yan Yunbei withdrew his aura and hid in a different space as he approached the Kai Yuan mansion. Now that Kai Yuan was in a high position and had many guards around him, he was worried that the experts of the Quang mansion would seek revenge. Yan Yunbei quietly entered the Kai Yuan mansion. A large group of experts was patrolling the area, but they could not find him. Recently, the Kai Yuan Immortal Emperor had killed some experts of the Quang Mansion, including some suspicious people from the second camp of the Heavenly Conquest camp. It did not matter if they were from the Quang Mansion or not, as long as Kai Yuan felt that they were, he would kill them. No one could escape. At this moment, the Kai Yuan Immortal Emperor was sitting on his throne with a smug look on his face. He was playing with some beautiful women and tasting their nectar. His eyes were full of smiles. I've only killed 180,000 people of the Quang Mansion. When will I be able to kill them all? The Kai Yuan Immortal Emperor murmured to himself. The women beside him were so scared that they did not dare to make a sound. The first camp of the Heavenly Conquest camp, the second camp, the Quang Mansion's inner sect, the Ancient Massacre God, the Outer Sect, and the Assassin Legion. He had killed 180,000 people by himself. One could see how despicable he was. Countless people were implicated by the Quang Mansion. As long as they were related to the Quang Mansion, he would not show mercy. At this moment, Yan Yunbei had already entered the hall. However, the Kai Yuan Immortal Emperor still did not notice him. The Kai Yuan Taigu Emperor's realm was not cultivated by himself. His battle strength was fundamentally different from Yan Yunbei's. Yan Yunbei's body was one with the heaven and earth. Not a single ripple was emitted. When he reached the Kai Yuan Immortal Emperor's back, the Kai Yuan Immortal Emperor suddenly pulled out his sword and stabbed backward. Puchi. Boom. Yan Yunbei grabbed the Kai Yuan Immortal Emperor's hair and ruthlessly stabbed his dagger into the Kai Yuan Immortal Emperor's son. Puchi. The Kai Yuan Immortal Emperor subconsciously pierced Yan Yunbei's left abdomen. Blood splattered everywhere. However, the dying strike did not have much effect. Die! Yan Yunbei roared and punched the Kai Yuan Immortal Emperor's temple again, completely destroying the Kai Yuan Immortal Emperor's soul. Hum! Whoosh! Yan Yunbei kicked the Kai Yuan Immortal Emperor's corpse away. He waved his hand and pulled out the Immortal Emperor's sword. Then, he summoned the Berserk Immortal Emperor and slashed the corpse, tearing the heart apart. Whoosh! Bang! With another slash, everything within 10 miles of the hall was devoured. There were no longer any living things in the hall. Puchi. Yan Yunbei cut off Kai Yuan Immortal Emperor's head and stabbed it into his heart. Then, he rose from the ground and disappeared without a trace. In just half a day, the ancient Heavenly Emperor appeared in the vicinity of the Kai Yuan mansion. It was a complete mess, and corpses were strewn all over the place. Inside the Kai Yuan mansion, there was a headless corpse stabbed into the ground. Judging from its attire, it was definitely the Kai Yuan Celestial Emperor. Yi Qinghan. The ancient Celestial Emperor took a deep breath and quickly appeared in the periphery. He found an expert, grabbed him, and coldly asked, "How long has the battle at Natal Mansion lasted?" Just for a moment. That expert's face turned pale as he replied in horror. The ancient God Emperor was now certain that Yi Qinghan had done it. That heavy sword was made of ordinary material, but it could instantly kill Kai Yuan. The average Taigu Emperor couldn't do it, and no one in insane manner could either. Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The ancient celestial the arch soared into the distance. Lord Yen Zhu, Yi Qinghan has appeared. The ancient celestial emperor roared. The heavenly Tao quickly covered the ancient celestial emperor, and Yen Yu appeared in the sky. Lord Yen Zhu, Kai Yuan Mansion. Kai Yuan was killed by Yi Qinghan with a single slash. Even his head was taken away. The ancient celestial emperor bowed respectfully. Yen Yu's figure flashed and appeared inside the Kai Yuan mansion. Looking at the corpse and the energy fluctuations around it, it wasn't the power of the heavenly Tao at all. Why didn't he use the heavenly Tao? Yen Yu was confused. If the heavenly Tao had appeared, he was certain that it was Yi Qinghan who had done it. The battle was very short. Other than Yi Qinghan, no one else in insane manner has this ability. It seems like you're really in the ancient immortal realm. However, since you've appeared, don't even think about escaping from me. Hiss, phew, Yen Yu took a deep breath and seemed to be making a decision. After a while, he said in a low voice, "Ancient Celestial Emperor, gather the captives of insane manner and the people of Yen clan. Hang them up and execute them in 3 months. I don't believe Yi Qinghan won't appear." There were captives of insane manner. The ancient celestial emperor could hear Yen Yu's voice even from 10,000 miles away. The ancient celestial emperor's eyes flashed fiercely. Like Lu Feng, he had no way out. One was Yi Qinghan, the other was the immemorial Yin Yang. Therefore, the ancient celestial emperor hoped that Yi Qinghan would die. He had to die. Whoosh! The ancient celestial emperor went to the Yen clan's ancestral ground, where a large number of Yen clan members and the upper echelons of insane manner were detained. The mystic skeleton, Nameless, and the 2 commanders of insane manor's heaven-conquering camp were captured. Their bodies were covered in blood and bones, and they were tortured badly. However, they didn't compromise. Their beliefs had never collapsed. They weren't even afraid of death, so why would they care about the ancient celestial emperor's torture? Chapter 29:19. The mystic skeleton and Nameless were the two highest captains of the crazy manor. They were second only to the chess saint in the heaven-conquering camp. They couldn't escape the enemy's pursuit and had been held captive for many years. Now, they were only skin and bones. Everyone from the Yen clan was dragged out, from the elders to the women and children. None of them managed to escape. If Yi Qinghan didn't die and the Yen emperor returned, Yan Yu would definitely be expelled from the Yen clan. He was an incompetent ancestor. Therefore, Yan Yu decided to give up on the Yen clan and start a new clan. Excluding the Yen clan, at least 60,000 people from Quang Manor had been captured. Most of them were Kiliarchs and above. Everyone below that rank had been killed. Kiliarchs, Majors, the Outer Sect, the Inner Sect, the Ancient Massacre God Battalion, and the Heavenly Conquest Battalion had all been captured. The rest were mostly dead. There were still tens of thousands of people from the Yen clan. Many of them had been tortured to death. During the immemorial era, the huge Yen clan only had a few tens of thousands of people left. It was very sad. There were hundreds of thousands of them. They were all tied up by the immortal binding chains and hung on the city walls of the firmament region. The ancient heavenly emperor had spread the news that the massacre would begin in 3 months. None of the 100,000 people would be left alive. The heaven-conquering camp was furious. Yan Yunbei had just returned to the region with a pale face while clutching his wounds when he received this news. He didn't expect that the price of restraining Yan Yu would be so high. Of course, he wanted to save the 100,000 people. They were all soldiers of the crazy manor. They were all made of flesh and blood. Ren Huangyi clenched his fists so hard that they dug their nails into his flesh. His entire body was trembling. Giving up or not would hurt. If they didn't give up, it would only increase the number of casualties. Since the ancient heavenly emperor had announced this, he was definitely waiting for the crazed manor and Yi Qinghan to fall into his trap. Yan Yu was definitely waiting. Yan Yunbei couldn't be bothered to heal his wounds. He took a deep breath and personally suppressed the army. He said coldly, "Without my orders, no one is to move. I don't want to give up on the 100,000 brothers and the Yen clan. However, once we attack, are we Yan Yu's match? We can't even break through the ancient heavenly emperor's army. If we attack, we won't be able to save the 100,000 people. Millions of us will die. Don't you understand?" Everyone understood this principle. However, none of them could bear to see the upper echelons of the Quang mansion being massacred and the Yen clansmen being exterminated. Yan Yunbei looked at the sky and closed his eyes to adjust his breathing. After a long time, he said firmly, "I'll say it again. This time, bear with it. Even if I'm captured, even if Emperor Yi is captured, no one is allowed to save him. Otherwise, you won't be saving him, you'll be harming him. We won't be able to die in peace." The army was silent, tears flowing down their cheeks. 3 months later, I will go and see them off on behalf of the great leader. You all stay here and wait for the summons. The final battle hasn't started yet. You all will have the opportunity to fight," said Yan Yunbei in a low voice. Yan Yunbei felt guilty. He was the one who carried out the plan to restrain Yan Yu. He had to give these people an explanation. The Quang Mansion army felt quite startled and knelt as they roared, "Corps Commander, please allow us to go. Our deaths are nothing to be regretted, but you will definitely die if you go." Yan Yunbei smiled gently. He looked at the Quang Manor's army and said hoarsely, "Everyone in the Quang Manor is equal. You and I are both working for the Quang Manor and our clansmen, not for Yi Zi. Therefore, we are all equal." Whoosh! Bang! Yan Yunbei straightened his body and placed his right hand on his chest. He saluted like the ancient killing god. Even if I die, I will not regret it. I, Yan Yunbei, will die with no regret since I have brothers like you in this life. Yan Yunbei said firmly. Whoosh! Boom! The army was neat and uniform, and their momentum was like a rainbow. This was not a motley crew, nor was this the so-called domain army. This was the Heaven Conquest Camp, the inner sect, the ancient massacre god, and the outer sect. Their salutes were firm and decisive. Even if I die, I will not regret it. Whoosh! Emperor Yi rushed over and said, I am his wife. I should be the one sending them off. Brother Yan, you stay here. Yan Yunbei smiled resolutely and said, I am his brother. Moreover, your identity is different. I don't want you to be humiliated, I don't want Quang Manor to be humiliated, and I don't want Yi Si to be humiliated. Put on. Emperor Yi knelt in front of Yan Yunbei and said resolutely, it's just death. I will say everything I need to say and self-destruct. I will not give them the chance to humiliate us. If you don't agree, I will not get up. Men! Take Emperor Yi away. He is not allowed to leave for 3 months. Yan Yunbei said angrily. Whoosh! The army marched forward and took Emperor Yi away. Everyone in Quang Manor knew that if Emperor Yi was humiliated, Quang Manor and Quang Manor's dignity would be gone. Emperor Yi cried. Yan Yunbei was too important. Whether it was to Quang Manor or Yi Qinghan, he had always been with Yi Qinghan. She was not willing to let him die. However, Yan Yunbei had no choice. Everyone thought that Yi Qinghan had returned and was in the ancient immortal world. If Yi Qinghan did not appear after the ancient heavenly emperor killed some people, Quang Manor would collapse easily. Yan Yunbei had to go and give an explanation. This was equivalent to giving an explanation with his life. Whoosh! Yan Yunbei waved his hand and took out a jar of wine. After tearing open the seal, he raised the jar and drank 3 mouthfuls. Let's meet again in the next life. Whoosh! Yan Yunbei did not even bother to recuperate. He left the divine ring and resources to Emperor Yi. There was no need to waste them. Yan Yunbei was an elder of Quang Manor. His position was unparalleled. Neither Yan Yu nor the ancient heavenly emperor would let him come back alive. Whoosh! The army kneeled on one knee and sent Yan Yunbei off. Their eyes were filled with tears. For the sake of an explanation, Yan Yunbei was willing to die. In fact, this wasn't just an explanation, it was also the Quangfu sentiment. No one wanted the Quangfu sentiment to collapse and cause Yi Qinghan to become the laughingstock of the world. These captives had endured countless years of torture. If they were to die like this, no one would be willing. Whoosh! Yan Yunbei simply sealed the wound and flew away. Half a day later, no one from Quang Manor stood up. Emperor Yi was crying. Yan Yu's plan was too vicious. He forced Yan Yunbei to die. Lu Feng hurried over. He was also afraid that Quang Fu would act rashly. However, when he arrived, he discovered that the army of Quang Fu was silently weeping. Even Emperor Yi was sobbing. After asking for a long time, he finally understood that Yan Yunbei had died. Lu Feng was stunned. He did not understand why Quang Manor was so united. Now, he understood. Crack! Crack! Lu Feng took a deep breath and clenched his fists. He rushed in the direction where Yan Yunbei disappeared. Such a hero should not die without a burial place. Lu Feng stepped towards Lingxiao region to collect Yan Yunbei's corpse. In the Lingxiao region, millions of troops had set up an inescapable net. Yan Yu was hiding in the dark. The ancient god emperor stood there with his sword in his hand. His face was cold and gloomy. He looked at the 100,000 people hanging on the city wall and calculated the time silently. Quang Manor. I don't believe it. If Yi Qinghan comes back to save you in 3 months, I will believe it. If he doesn't, I will think that your stubbornness is bullshit. You are just being used by Yi Qinghan. The ancient heavenly emperor said coldly. Yi Qinghan was not in the ancient immortal world. How could he save them? However, if Yi Qinghan was really here, the final battle would begin immediately. At this moment, Yan Yunbei was moving swiftly. He used the transfer steel to enter the Lingxiao region and went straight to the main city. Chapter 29-20. In the main city of the Lingxiao region, the ancient heavenly emperor began his plan to either force Yi Qinghan to show himself or destroy Insane Manor. 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. The scorching sun roasted the 100,000 people. They had already been tortured and were now unconscious. Only a few experts were still able to hold on. Nameless Bone Sage and the 3 elders of the Yen tribe waited for the ancient heavenly emperor with their eyes wide open. What a joke. It's been 2 months and Yi Qinghan hasn't even dared to show himself. What insane manner love. He's just toying with you bunch of pitiful worms. The ancient heavenly emperor sneered. Bah, Bone Sage roared. He wished he could kill the ancient heavenly emperor himself, but his cultivation was too low. He couldn't even self-detonate in front of this person. We don't need the Manor Lord to save us. It's obvious that they want to kill the Manor Lord and the brothers of Insane Manor. We won't be instigated by despicable people. Ancient heavenly emperor, you despicable person. Give up, Nameless said coldly. The ancient heavenly emperor sneered. With a wave of his hand, he controlled the surroundings. Originally, the sun was like fire, but suddenly, the cold air was oppressive. Heavy snow swirled in the air, and the 100,000 people were all frozen awake. You can argue all you want. I'll show you what Insane Manor love is. It's nothing in the face of reality. The ancient heavenly emperor said coldly. Kakik, everyone was shivering from the cold. Their teeth chattered uncontrollably, and their eyes were filled with despair and anger. When a person was at their most desperate, their will would often crumble and they would unconsciously think of the worst. This was what the ancient heavenly emperor wanted. He wanted to show the world that Insane Manor and Insane Manor love didn't exist. At this moment, the world was watching the ancient heavenly emperor's free projection for everyone to see. Even the people of the undying immortal world and the 108 regions wanted to see if the Manor Lord of Insane Manor would show up and sacrifice his life for Insane Manor. The ancient heavenly emperor looked at the projection coldly and said, Yi Qinghan, if you come, I will let these 100,000 people go. If you don't come, I will let the world see your true colors. You are greedy for life and afraid of death. Even the 10 tribulations and 10 reincarnations will not dare to appear. Everyone hoped that Yi Qinghan would appear. They hoped that someone would appear to fight against the ancient heavenly emperor and Yen Yu. They hoped that the evil forces would be defeated. However, as the 3 months approached, not to mention the people of the world, even the 100,000 people felt despair. They were somewhat disappointed. In the end, Yi Qinghan did not come. Ha 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 ha, the ancient heavenly emperor roared, his voice full of contempt and mockery. So this is the so-called crazy mansion, the man with 10 tribulations and 10 reincarnations. 3 months is enough for him to reach Firmament region from a remote area of the ancient immortal world. He doesn't dare to come. In his eyes, his life is more important than the lives of millions of crazy mansion people. The ancient heavenly emperor laughed. Ah! The Bone Sage roared. He could feel the disappointment in everyone's hearts, but there was nothing he could do. Whoosh! Boom! At this moment, a figure appeared in the projection. His figure was elongated, and his majestic back was solemn. He held a dagger in his hand, and his hair fluttered behind his back. His handsome face was filled with determination. There's no need to tell outsiders about Insane Manor's love. No one in Insane Manor is afraid of death, let alone the Manor Lord. I wonder if I, Yen Yunbei, have the right to represent Insane Manor to send my brothers off. His voice was like thunder, reverberating through the ages. It was domineering. Thud thud thud, thud thud thud, Yen Yunbei walked over step by step. His eyes were fixed on the ancient heavenly emperor, but he was talking to the captives of Insane Manor. I'll die with you, and I'll tell you in the afterlife why the Manor Lord didn't come. Believe me, the Manor Lord won't give up on you. There must be a reason why he didn't come. The Manor Lord wants to save the entire Insane Manor, and I believe you can understand his every plan. Yen Yunbei walked over slowly, and wherever he passed, the soldiers would back away. Whoosh! The ancient heavenly emperor stared at Yen Yunbei, holding his sword. He didn't expect Yen Yunbei to come alone. The captives felt guilty, and they roared. Legion Commander, our will won't crumble. Hurry up and leave. The members of the Thorndao Legion roared, tears of blood streaming down their faces. Elder Yen. Hurry up and leave. We live as Insane Manor's people, and we die as Insane Manor's ghosts. Don't let us die with regrets. The Bone Sage roared. Apologize to the Camp Lord on my behalf. I can't fight for him anymore. Wu Ming roared, unwilling to let Yen Yunbei die in the end. They knew why Yen Yunbei came, but he didn't want them to die with disappointment. Human nature was fragile. If Yen Yunbei didn't come today, the Insane Manor's faith would crumble. If he came, they would feel guilty if he died. There was no such thing as having it both ways. There were gains and losses, and there were gains and losses. Yen Yunbei had already stepped into the army. The army made way for him, but they quickly sealed off his path of retreat. Whoosh! Yen Yunbei had never thought of retreating. When he was outside the city, he stood 100 meters below the captives. He bowed to the ancient killing god. He was the ancient killing god when he was alive, and he would die as the ancient killing god when he was dead. He fought for his people, and his beliefs had never changed. *Wowu, thousands of captives cried. Di Longtian was the commander of the ancient god of slaughter, but Yen Yunbei was the first-generation ancient god of slaughter. Only the ancient god of slaughter knew what Yen Yunbei represented. He represented the faith, the flag of the soul. The ancient heavenly emperor stared at Yen Yunbei coldly. He recognized Yen Yunbei from the bottom of his heart. If Yen Yunbei wasn't an enemy, he would definitely drink and chat happily. Unfortunately, Yen Yunbei was destined to be an enemy. Yi Qinghan didn't dare to send himself to death, so he sent you instead. You're also a pitiful worm, a foolish worm. Dying for him is truly foolish. The ancient heavenly emperor sneered. Yen Yunbei smiled at the ancient heavenly emperor and said disdainfully, I know what I'm doing, but do you know what you're doing? You can even betray your own uncle. What's the point of cultivating half your life to become a half-ancestor? After killing Yi Qinghan, the meaning will be clear. The world will be at peace and everyone will celebrate. I'm fighting to stop the war. Everyone is afraid of me now. Wait 1,000,000 years later and we'll see what the world thinks of me. The ancient heavenly emperor said proudly. At this moment, the world is filled with Yi Qinghan. Can you kill them all? Yen Yunbei asked coldly. The ancient heavenly emperor retorted, there's only one Yi Qinghan in the world. If you kill him, he'll be gone. Therefore, you can't represent Yi Qinghan. Therefore, your appearance doesn't represent Guangfu. Yen Yunbei exhaled, pointing at the projection in the 100,000 captives. He said proudly, Yi Qinghan and I have been through life and death situations. He has saved me many times, and I have saved him too. You can ask the common people and the people of Guangfu Mansion if I can represent Guangfu Mansion and Yi Qinghan. Yes. The people of Quangfu roared. Their will was unprecedentedly firm. Chapter 29-21. That one word cut off the ancient heavenly emperor's thoughts. Yan Yunbei smiled and looked up at the sky. Yan Yu, are you going to kill me yourself, or will the ancient heavenly emperor do it? Yan Yu did not appear, and there was no need for him to. The ancient heavenly emperor waved his hand disdainfully, and the army retreated. Do I need an ancestor to kill you? I'll let you have 3 moves, the ancient heavenly emperor said coldly. Yan Yunbei took a deep breath. Although he had been on the road for the past 3 months, he had also been recovering from his injuries. Kai Yuan did not cause much damage to him, and now that he had recovered to his peak, he still had no hope of defeating the ancient heavenly emperor. The difference between a half-ancestor and a Taigu emperor like Yan Yunbei was obvious. However, Yan Yunbei would not give up easily. Whoosh! The dagger shone in the snow, and cold light shot out in all directions, shaking the hearts and souls of the heroes. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yan Yunbei's figure flashed, and he disappeared quietly. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Yan Yunbei disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already above the Bone Sage and Wu Ming. Although the dagger was short, it was an immemorial emperor-level divine weapon. It directly cut through the iron chains. In the blink of an eye, Yan Yunbei had saved several thousand people and unlocked their seals. Ha 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 ha, the ancient heavenly emperor did not stop him, and he allowed him to unseal the people of Crazed Manor. A trapped beast could not withstand a single blow. Whoosh! The ancient heavenly emperor ordered an expert beside him to attack. Boom! Hum! That expert did not even use a divine weapon, and he slapped Yan Yunbei's back. Yan Yunbei took the opportunity to kill the expert, and he rushed toward the captives again, wanting to save more people. Whoosh! 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 More and more people joined the attack. Now, they were not only attacking Yan Yunbei, but also killing the unarmed captives and Yan clan members. The Bone Sage, Wu Ming, and the others attacked the enemy with their bare hands. A moment later, the sky was dyed red with blood. However, they quickly killed the enemy and seized their weapons. They fought madly in order to protect Yan Yunbei, the captives of the Quang Manor and the Yan clan. They were already injured, and after years of torture, they did not have much combat strength left. Soon, almost 1,000 people from Crazed Manor were dead, but they were not afraid of death, and they used their lives to block the enemy's spears. Puchi. Some people were instantly pierced by the spears, their bodies were pierced by the spears, and they were nailed to the ground alive. Kill! The Bone Sage roared as he swung his spear in all directions. The sound of space shattering could be heard. Wu Ming snatched a sword and defended himself in all directions. He fought with the army. In just half an hour, dozens of spears pierced through his body. Even before he died, he roared furiously. Camp Master, Nameless Buhue. The Bone Sage was enraged when he saw John Doe's head being pierced. He instantly killed the dozens of soldiers who had killed John Doe. Then, he protected John Doe's body and killed anyone he saw. He was bathed in blood. However, there were simply too many enemies, and all of them were the ancient heavenly emperor's trusted aides. At this moment, the ancient heavenly emperor did not make a move. Instead, he watched Yan Yunbei's final struggle. So what if he saved these 100,000 people? Who could break through the encirclement of tens of thousands of soldiers? Ridiculous. The ancient heavenly emperor only had 2 words for Yan Yunbei's actions. Half a day later, all of the 100,000 people were saved. However, more than 30,000 of them had died, and many of them were heavily injured. Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh whoosh! 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 Yan Yunbei charged into the enemy army and killed hundreds of experts. Then, he soared into the sky and charged toward the ancient heavenly emperor with a resolute aura. A firefly dares to compete with the bright moon? The ancient heavenly emperor placed his hands behind his back. With a thought, a transparent and invisible barrier formed in front of him. Boom! Bang! Yan Yunbei's dagger pierced through the barrier, but it was sent flying by a terrifying force within the barrier. He could not attack the ancient heavenly emperor's body at all. The ancient heavenly emperor placed his hands behind his back and said coldly, "Yan Yunbei, I will give you another chance because you are a hero. Lead these people and pledge their loyalty to Lord Yen Zhu. Yen Zhu will not be stingy and will help you reach the half-ancestor realm. You will be second only to me and above all others." Phew! Yan Yunbei soared into the sky and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He said coldly, "Ancient killing god, even if I die today, I will not regret it. Even if I die in battle today, the common people will remember me. Ancient heavenly emperor, do you know how many people thank you for attacking the ancient heavenly emperor of Class 1 Hall? When you were assassinated, do you know how many people in Guangfu Manor did not fear death for you? Look at you now. You are just a pitiful worm with great power. When he returns, do you know how many people in this world will risk their lives for you?" The ancient heavenly emperor said coldly, "I am here, and Yi Qing Han is in the ancient immortal world. Will he dare to come out? Don't worry, he will come back." Whoosh! Yan Yunbei tore through the void and disappeared. However, the ancient heavenly emperor's surroundings were controlled by his spiritual will and formed a new domain. Yan Yunbei had no chance to get close at all. Whoosh! Yan Yunbei attacked. His dagger pierced through the void and went for the ancient heavenly emperor's back. The ancient heavenly emperor looked calm, but at this moment, he had locked onto Yan Yunbei's position. The moment he attacked, the ancient heavenly emperor flipped the sky and slapped at Yan Yunbei. Bang! Boom! The ancient heavenly emperor's spiritual will barrier protected his palm, and the heaven-shrouding imprint hit the dagger. The two attacks collided, and the void collapsed. The city walls of the Lingxiao region shook, but the city protection array shone brightly and stood proudly. Whoosh! Whoosh! Crack! Crack! Yan Yunbei held the dagger with both hands and blocked with all his might. He refused to retreat. However, the ancient heavenly emperor's strength was heaven-defying. 70% of his strength was enough to twist Yan Yunbei's right arm. The space under his feet collapsed, and Yan Yunbei was forced to fly backward. Whoosh! The ancient heavenly emperor tapped the void with the tip of his toe, and the giant palm print shattered the void. He wanted to kill Yan Yunbei. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yan Yunbei was one of the top experts of the crazy house, and his reaction was fast. He flipped his body and flew backward toward the domain army. If he wanted to kill Yan Yunbei, he had to involve the domain army. However, the ancient heavenly emperor did not care about the lives of the domain army. The giant palm print fell from the sky and shattered everything. Whoosh! Bang! Yan Yunbei resisted with all his might. The dagger pierced through the air and went for the giant palm print. Boom! Yan Yunbei was slammed into the ground by the giant palm print. His feet touched the ground, and with a twist of his toes, the impact spread into the depths of the earth. Crack! Ah! Yan Yunbei roared in anger. His body was being crushed by the terrifying power and was about to be crushed. The ancient heavenly emperor was borrowing the power of the great path of man. Although it was only the power of a half-martial ancestor, it was still not something Yan Yunbei could resist. Bang! Crack! Yan Yunbei's legs were slammed into the ground, and his arms were broken. His handsome face was distorted, and his eyes were bloodshot. Yan Yunbei, I'll give you one more chance. As long as you surrender, I'll spare the lives of these captives, the ancient heavenly emperor said coldly. At this moment, less than half of the 100,000 people, including the Yen clan, were left. 3 of the elders of the Yen clan were dead, and the ancient killing gods of the crazy house were all dead. Only the 3rd generation of the inner sect was left, and the 2nd generation was dead. They were all fighting with their lives on the line for the 3rd generation to escape. The outer sect was all dead, and almost all the captains of the conquering heaven camp were dead. However, no one was willing to compromise. They were all struggling like cornered beasts. Nameless died in battle, and his corpse was destroyed. The mystic skeleton was severely injured and almost died. There was no chance, but no one gave up. The projection was still being projected to countless domains. Countless people in the 108 domains were watching. They were angry, but they did not dare to say anything. The millions of soldiers led by Emperor Yi clenched their fists and glared at the projection in the sky. They were furious, but there was nothing they could do. No matter how many people they sent, they would all die. Chapter 29-22. The millions of soldiers from the crazy mansion disguised as the domain army watched Yan Yunbei die. They did not dare to look, but they could not help but look up at the projection, hoping for a miracle. Where was the miracle? Unless Yi Qinghan and Yan Emperor returned, it was impossible. Yi Qinghan was restrained by the immemorial yin yang at the edge of the universe, and Yan Emperor's corpse was still in the Nirvana land. At this moment, the 9-colored Brahma heart in Yan Emperor's mouth was shining with 9-colored divine light. Half of the valley was occupied by flowers and grass. Life could be born in any place. Yan Emperor's great Tao was born in the Nirvana land, emitting a powerful aura. Vitality extended, the great Tao shook the sky, and everything followed. His great Tao was complete, and his body began to shine. He was coming back. Who could compete with the strongest emperor in the world? When Yan Emperor reached the top, even the heavens would be human. He still needed time, but he did not know how long. What was certain was that Yan Emperor would return sooner or later. Unfortunately, time waited for no one. Yan Yunbei resisted with all his might, and the ancient heavenly emperor used all his strength to suppress Yan Yunbei. Ant! The ancient heavenly emperor roared. He was furious that a half-martial ancestor needed so much time to kill an emperor. Yan Yunbei's body was twisted. If he could not break free, he would be suppressed by the ancient heavenly emperor. There was no miracle. Yan Yunbei was no match for the ancient heavenly emperor. Yi Qinghan could not return, and neither could Yan Emperor. Hua! Boom! Yan Yunbei took the risk and rolled on the ground. He slashed with the dagger in his hand, and his body rushed dozens of meters away. Bang! The ancient heavenly emperor's attack landed on the ground, and a deep ravine appeared outside the main city of the firmament region. The ravine widened and almost dragged Yan Yunbei into the abyss. Hua! Yan Yunbei reacted quickly. He rolled and rushed into the midst of the domain army. Boom! Bang bang bang! Hua! Countless spears penetrated the ground and pierced past Yan Yunbei, almost piercing his body a few times. Crack 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 crack! Hua! Swoosh swoosh swoosh! Yan Yunbei waved his hand and broke the spears. He dodged the attacks with a few somersaults and stabilized his body. Poochie! Ah! Countless people clutched their throats as blood splattered everywhere. In the blink of an eye, over 1,000 people had died. Boom! Bang! The ancient heavenly emperor was enraged. He used his immortal will to control the palm print and hit Yan Yunbei's back, sending him flying a few hundred feet away. So what if it's a dying struggle? No one can save you today. Let's see if Yi Qinghan sees you as a brother. Let's see if he will appear before you die. The ancient heavenly emperor stepped towards Yan Yunbei and spoke with disdain. At this moment, Lu Feng was standing far away in the sky. He was still a distance away from Firmament region. He held his sword and stood upright. He wanted to draw his sword a few times, but he resisted the urge. It didn't matter whether he went or not because Yan Yu was in Firmament region. After pondering for a long time, Lu Feng decided that he couldn't let Yan Yunbei die. Only Yan Yunbei knew about the contributions he had made in the ancient immortal world. If Yan Yunbei died, then everything he had done would be for naught. He would even offend the immemorial Yin Yang. A cold light flashed in Lu Feng's eyes. His figure flashed as he dashed toward a secret agent organization in the Skycloud region. Whoosh! This small city seemed ordinary, but there were many high-level secret agents of the ancient heavenly emperor. As the hall master of the first hall, it was impossible for Lu Feng to not find out. Whoosh! Lu Feng stepped into an ordinary courtyard house and asked, "Who's in charge?" Who didn't know the great Lu Feng? That mask was the best evidence. There were 7 or 8 elders in the courtyard house. They all had decent cultivations. They immediately bowed and said, "Greetings, hall master of the first hall. I'm the person in charge of this city. What can I do for you, hall master?" The strongest among them should have reached the peak of the 4th form. His fighting strength was definitely not weak. He immediately stood up and bowed. According to the news from the external hall, someone saw Yi Qinghan going to Qiu Tian region alone. However, I'm not sure. Go and inform Lord Yen Zhu and let him decide. I have other things to do, so I'll let you guys take the credit. Lu Feng said indifferently. The 7 or 8 experts were overjoyed. They bowed and thanked him. They didn't expect the hall master of the first hall to betray the immemorial Yin Yang region. They also didn't expect him to play with Yan Yu. Therefore, they didn't doubt Lu Feng's news. Whoosh! Lu Feng left after saying that. The leader naturally didn't want others to take the credit, so he left the others in the courtyard and rushed to the main city alone. Right after the strongest expert left, Lu Feng's figure flashed and returned to the courtyard. His sword energy was like a rainbow, and his aura was restrained. He caught them off guard and directly killed all 7 of them. They were all killed with a single sword strike, and their souls were shattered into pieces. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lu Feng quietly rushed to Firmament region's main city. Half a day later, the secret agent shouted, "Report. Yi Qinghan's tracks have appeared. He's heading to Qiu Tian region." At this moment, Yan Yu was still in the main city watching the battlefield, waiting for Yi Qinghan to appear. He didn't expect to receive such news. He was shocked. Boom! Whoosh! The great Tao of man rumbled and crossed the void. In the blink of an eye, it was gone, heading towards Qiu Tian region. Lu Feng looked at Yan Yu and immediately pulled out his sword. He hid in the void and changed into a mask. His aura was restrained, and his sword pierced through the secret agent's head and soul. A 4th form expert died on the spot. Lu Feng's fake information could not be verified. Yan Yu would realize that he had been tricked when he reached Qiu Tian region, but it would be too late to return. Whoosh! 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 Lu Feng's sword was as fast as lightning. He stabbed thousands of times, and all of them landed on the ancient heavenly monarch's defensive barrier. The barrier was torn to pieces, and the shockwaves killed many of the region's soldiers. Everyone, gather. Old Yen, take them and leave first. I'll cover you. Lu Feng's voice was hoarse, and he was a completely different person. His eyes were cold, just like Chu Jun's. Even his sword was similar to Chu Jun's. The ancient heavenly monarch was caught off guard and was forced to retreat a few hundred steps. He stared at Lu Feng's eyes, but the mask was made of a special material, so he couldn't confirm Lu Feng's identity. Chu Jun. You're not dead. Yan Yunbei is Yi Qinghan's brother. The person who killed you was Yi Qinghan. Are you trying to make your enemy happy? the ancient heavenly monarch asked angrily. Lu Feng did not reply. He continued to attack with his sword, and his sword aura was so sharp that it split mountains and rivers. He created a gap in the region's army and opened a path for Yan Yunbei to escape. At this moment, Lu Feng had gained the upper hand, and the ancient heavenly monarch was unable to counter him quickly. Although Yan Yunbei was severely injured, as the Taigu emperor, his figure flashed, and he shuttled through the army, saving the remaining 10,000 people. The mystic skeleton was almost killed. Whoosh! Whoosh! Puchi! Yan Yunbei hit everyone in his internal world, and then he charged into the enemy's army. His dagger reaped lives, and he finally snatched a long staff. With a single strike, he broke through all the defenses, and finally reached the gap that Lu Feng had created for him. His figure flashed, and he disappeared without a trace. Lu Feng still refused to say anything. He continued to attack with his sword, but he could not shake off the ancient heavenly monarch. Time waited for no man. Yan Yu left quickly, but he would come even faster. If he did not leave now, he would not be able to get out of his drunken stupor today. I don't care if you're Chu Jun, Gu Qingyu, Lin Wuqian, or Mu Zhuang. It's worth it to exchange your life for Yan Yunbei's. The ancient heavenly monarch was furious. He sent a palm down from the sky, wanting to suppress Lu Feng. Whoosh! Lu Feng was still a half-step ancestor. Even if he could not defeat the ancient heavenly monarch, it was still possible for him to escape alive. His sword made the world lose its color, and it actually touched the origin of the sword Tao of heaven and earth. It was extremely sharp, and it forced the ancient heavenly monarch to retreat. Chapter 29-23. Whoosh! Bang! After forcing the ancient heavenly emperor back, Lu Feng didn't dare to stay any longer. He turned and fled. The ancient heavenly emperor was furious. He waved his hand and formed a heavenly sword that pierced through the void towards Lu Feng. Whoosh! 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 Lu Feng didn't even turn his head. He shattered the energy sword and tried to tear open the void to escape. The ancient heavenly emperor sneered as he continuously condensed more than 10 swords of energy. Seeing that the sovereign's mark had been taken away, he sealed the void and didn't give Lu Feng any chance to escape. Whoosh! 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 Although the energy swords were formed from divine will and energy, their destructive power was unparalleled. Bang! 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 Lu Feng slashed down 13 energy swords in a row. However, another energy sword came at him at an even faster speed. If he was held back any longer, Yan Yu would probably be saved. Hua! Lu Feng dodged and gave up on resisting. He slashed open the void and stepped into the alternate space. However, the moment he stepped into the alternate space, the heavenly sword pierced through Lu Feng's defenses and pierced through his left shoulder. Blood sprayed through the void. Boom! Bang! Lu Feng's body staggered and he almost fell out of the alternate space. He turned and slapped out, not at the ancient heavenly emperor, but at his own blood. He couldn't leave any traces behind. Otherwise, Yan Yu would chase him all the way to Class 1 Hall and kill him. The terrifying palm energy drowned out everything. His blood began to burn. Humph! Lu Feng groaned. His face was pale. He used the alternate space to travel rapidly, disappearing in the blink of an eye. The ancient heavenly emperor chased for a long time, but his opponent was also a half-martial ancestor. His speed was unparalleled. If Lu Feng wanted to escape, only a half-martial ancestor could kill him. He lost him. The ancient heavenly emperor waved his sleeves and stomped down, shattering the void. Time and space collapsed. You can escape today, but you won't be able to escape tomorrow. I'll soon know your identity. The ancient heavenly emperor roared. Apart from Chu Jun, only Lu Feng could be a half-martial ancestor. However, he suspected that it couldn't be Lu Feng. Lu Feng was the Hall Master of Class 1 Hall. Although Chu Jun was the former Hall Master, he was killed by Yi Qinghan. Even if he was lucky enough to survive, he couldn't help Yan Yunbei escape. Gu Qingyu, Mu, Lin Wuqian, Chu Jun, Lu Feng. The ancient heavenly emperor stood in the void and spoke to himself in a cold voice. Only these 5 people could have the battle prowess of a half-martial ancestor. Perhaps even Mu Zhuang, Lin Wuqian and Gu Qingyu might not be able to step into the half-martial ancestor realm. About half a day later, Yan Yu realized that he had been tricked and immediately returned. He wanted to find the person who had sent the message, but that person had already been killed by Lu Shan. Who was the one who sent the message? Yan Yu asked coldly as he looked at the ancient heavenly emperor. The ancient heavenly emperor took a deep breath and replied respectfully, Lord Yan Zhu, that person is the person in charge of a small city in the firmament region. It's impossible for him to betray you. He might have been deceived by someone. However, I'm afraid that there aren't many people who can deceive him. I went to that small city to take a look. Everyone in the branch was killed and there wasn't even a trace of resistance. This means that the other party's identity is someone familiar and not an enemy. The person who just saved Yan Yunbei from my hands is a half-martial ancestor. His battle prowess is unparalleled. Chu Jun and Lu Feng, it seemed impossible for either of them to succeed. A cold light flashed in Yan Yu's eyes and he asked coldly, isn't Chu Jun dead? Also, Lu Feng is the Hall Master of the First Hall. Why would he save Yan Yunbei? Lord Flame Ancestor, Chu Jun is not dead. He is Chu Shijun Xian. Several hundred years ago, several of my capable generals were killed because of Yan Yunbei and Chu Shijun Xian's scheme. In addition, the person who saved Yan Yunbei today was injured by me, and it is impossible for him to recover in a short period of time. If Lord Flame Ancestor allows it, please come with me to Elite Hall to verify whether Lu Feng is injured or not. I'm afraid that if I go alone, Lu Feng might not be willing to cooperate with me, and there might even be a conflict, the ancient heavenly emperor said with a bow. A cold light flashed in Yan Yu's eyes. If Lu Feng betrayed them, it would be a huge matter. He couldn't let his guard down. When Yan Yu returned to the firmament region, Lu Feng didn't rush to the Crimson Divine region. Instead, he went to the hiding place of the Crazy Mansion's army and found Lin Mo and Yi Tong. He mobilized the hundreds of thousands of people of the Sky Conquering Camp and ordered them to attack him at the entrance of the third region. Although no one died, they were all heavily injured. There were dozens of wounds on Lu Feng's body. His left shoulder was almost pierced through, and the wound caused by the ancient heavenly emperor was completely covered. The original injury couldn't be seen anymore. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lu Feng was ruthless. He had no choice but to do this in order to clear his name. All region armies must unify their statements today. We have been searching for the Crazy Mansion's whereabouts for the past few days. Today, we encountered the Crazy Mansion's army and fought. I was heavily injured by Yi Tong, Lin Mo, and Mu Zhuang. By unifying their statements and creating an alibi, even if Yan Yu came to confront him, he would have enough evidence to prove himself. Lu Feng was sure that Yan Yu wouldn't destroy his relationship with the immemorial Yin-Yang region because they needed to work together to deal with the Flame Emperor and Yi Qinghan. The experts of the Sky Conquering Camp didn't seem to be anything special. As long as they didn't betray the Crazy Mansion, Yan Yu wouldn't be able to find out anything. Everyone, come with me. Whoosh! Lu Feng led the 120,000 people of the Sky Conquering Camp back to the Crimson Divine region through the teleportation tablet. They were all in a miserable state. However, Lu Feng didn't have time to recover from his injuries. Although they didn't know that Lu Feng had betrayed the immemorial Yin-Yang region, they would naturally stand on his side. Boom! Whoosh! It was at this time that Yen Yu and the ancient heavenly monarch arrived in the air above the Crimson Divine region. The injured region army was changing camps. The ancient heavenly emperor frowned. Such a strong region army had suffered such heavy injuries. They had probably encountered the crazy mansion's sky-conquering camp, and there were quite a few of them. Boom! Yen Yu's arrival shocked everyone. Even the emperors of the Lu family kneeled down to welcome him. "Tell Lu Feng to come out and see me," Yen Yu said coldly. The emperors of the Lu family knelt down and said, "My nephew is heavily injured because he led the regent army to meet the crazy mansion's people. He is currently recuperating. I wonder if Lord Yen Yu, this ancestor, will say it one more time. Tell Lu Feng to come out and see me," Yen Yu said fiercely. It was too coincidental. Lu Feng was injured and Yen Yunbei was rescued by a half-martial ancestor. Yen Yu couldn't help but suspect that Lu Feng was the culprit. Whoosh! Lu Feng clutched his chest. His body was covered in blood and his face was pale. However, he gritted his teeth and walked out. He knelt down on one knee and said respectfully, "Hall Master of the First Hall, Lu Feng, greets Lord Yen Yu. I didn't know that Lord Yen Yu would be here. Please forgive me for not welcoming you." Yen Yu looked at Lu Feng coldly. Lu Feng didn't only have one injury. There were dozens of them. His left shoulder was pierced through by the blade qi. The injury was extremely serious. There was a fist-sized hole. "What's wrong with your injuries?" Yen Yu asked coldly. Lu Feng coughed out 2 mouthfuls of blood. He knelt down on one knee and replied respectfully, "I received news a few days ago that there were traces of the crazy mansion's army moving. Therefore, I led a regent army to encircle them. However, they came prepared. Crazy mansion's first generation's wooden dummy, Yan clan's Yiqinxing, and assassin armies Lin Mo and Yi Tong ambushed me. I was accidentally injured. However, I have no regrets even if I die for Lord Yin Yang ancestor and Lord Yen Yu." Yen Yu sneered and said to the ancient heavenly emperor, "Check his injuries." Chapter 29-24. Yen Yu sneered and asked the ancient heavenly emperor to confirm it himself. The ancient heavenly emperor stared at Lu Feng. Although Lu Feng had changed his voice and gaze, he couldn't change his body shape. The ancient heavenly emperor was 50% sure that the person who saved Yen Yunbei was Lu Feng. Lu Feng was startled, but he suppressed it. He raised his head and asked in shock, "Lord Yen Zhu, Brother Gu, what are you doing? You don't need to ask too much. I'll give you an explanation later." The ancient heavenly emperor reached out to take off Lu Feng's mask. Lu Feng waved his hand to stop the ancient heavenly emperor and said, "Lord Yen Zhu, I respect you as my ancestor, but I'm not your subordinate. I've served Lord Yin Yang ancestor with my life, and Lord Yin Yang ancestor has never doubted me. The two of you came with great fanfare and didn't give me any face. Are you slapping the face of Yin Yang ancestor in Class 1 Hall? I'm the Hall Master of Class 1 Hall." The ancient heavenly emperor sneered and said indifferently, "Hall Master Lu, why are you so agitated? Lord Yen Zhu is only here to verify and treat Hall Master Lu's injuries." "Verify what? At least let me know," Lu Feng said coldly. "Last night, Yen Yunbei and tens of thousands of Insane Mansion's captives were rescued by a half-martial ancestor. There aren't many half-martial ancestors. Lord Yen Zhu and I aren't doubting you. We just want to prove Hall Master Lu's innocence." Lu Feng pretended to be angry and asked angrily, "Lord Yen Zhu, do you think that Class 1 Hall's Hall Master will save Insane Mansion's people? I've killed countless experts over the years. If Yi Qinghan and Yen Emperor return, I'll be the first to die. What's in it for me? Are you trying to frame me because my Yin Yang ancestor isn't here?" Yen Yu snorted coldly. His eyes under the dragon tiger form were terrifying. Yen Yu waved his hand and said coldly, Lu Feng, I'm only asking the ancient heavenly emperor to verify your identity. You'd better be obedient with your injuries. Otherwise, I won't be so nice when I make my move. Lu Feng took a deep breath and bowed. Lord Yen Zhu, please investigate. I have no complaints. I just hope that you can give me an explanation. Lord Yen Zhu and Class 1 Hall. If this matter spreads. Yin Yang Ancestor. The ancient heavenly emperor waved his hand and took off Lu Feng's mask. Lu Feng's face wasn't as handsome as jade, but it was cold and filled with killing intent. It was clear that Lu Feng had killed many people. Lu Feng clenched his fists and closed his eyes to wait for his wounds to be examined. The ancient heavenly emperor didn't give any face at all. He tore off Lu Feng's shirt in front of everyone. Lu Feng's body was riddled with wounds. There were knife and sword wounds, but none of them had scabbed over yet. They were definitely the result of the attacks he had suffered in the past 2 days. The injury on his left shoulder was far more terrifying than the one the ancient heavenly emperor had inflicted on him. If it had been 3 times more severe, Lu Feng would have died. Being stripped in public was a humiliation. The 2 uncles of the Lu family and the second camp of the Heaven Conquest camp were all furious. It was as if Ancestor Yen and the ancient heavenly emperor were insulting Class 1 Hall. The ancient heavenly emperor frowned. The wound he caused wasn't that big. However, he felt that it was caused by his sword. Although it was more serious, it wasn't life-threatening. However, there were many other sword and knife wounds on Lu Feng's body. They were wounds from the past 2 days and had yet to heal. If Lu Feng was the one who did it last night, how could he explain these wounds? The ancient heavenly emperor wasn't sure, but he was 50% sure. After a long while, the ancient heavenly emperor turned around and asked for Yen Zhu's opinion. Yes or no? Give me a definite answer. Yen Yu replied impatiently. Cold sweat appeared on the ancient heavenly emperor's forehead. He didn't know how to answer Yen Yu. At that moment, a secret agent rushed in. He knelt on the ground respectfully and said, Hall Master, the group of people who ambushed you and the sky-conquering battalion yesterday has appeared again. They disappeared after appearing in the immortal region. The outer hall is doing its best to track them down. Lu Feng took a deep breath and said coldly, kill them if you find them. I don't want them alive. Yes. The secret agent bowed and left. He didn't even notice that there was an ancestor standing beside him. Lu Feng looked at the ancient heavenly emperor and asked, Brother Gu, are you done with the inspection? Can you prove my innocence? You know best whether Hall Master Lu is innocent or not. I won't say anything more. Everything will come to light when I find Chu Jun and Mu Zhuang. The ancient heavenly emperor snorted. Lu Feng immediately shouted angrily. Since you don't have any proof, then let me ask you something. Are you trying to humiliate Class 1 Hall and Lord Yin Yang Ancestor by stripping off the clothes of Class 1 Hall's Hall Master and framing me for saving the people of Crazed Manor? The ancient heavenly emperor's breath froze. It was easy to bear the crime of humiliating Lu Feng, but it wasn't easy to bear the crime of humiliating Class 1 Hall and Primordial Yin Yang Ancestor. Even Yen Zhu didn't want to fall out with Primordial Yin Yang Ancestor at this moment. The ancient heavenly emperor was at a loss for words. He glanced at Yen Zhu from the corner of his eyes and saw that Yen Yu's eyes were cold and angry. He immediately knelt down on one knee and cupped his fists. This is this emperor's guess and has insulted Hall Master Lu. Lord Yen Zhu also came to verify my guess. I hope Hall Master Lu doesn't take it to heart. I sincerely apologize. The ancient heavenly emperor knelt on one knee and apologized. Primordial Yin Yang Ancestor couldn't say anything when he returned. Hua! Lu Feng pretended to be angry and waved his hand. I won't send you off. A cold light flashed in the ancient heavenly emperor's eyes. He stood up and retreated to Yen Yu's side. Seeing Lu Feng so angry, Yan Yu suspected that the ancient heavenly emperor had guessed wrongly. But looking at the ancient heavenly emperor's eyes, he knew that the ancient heavenly emperor was still suspicious. Lu Feng, I will explain to Brother Yin Yang Ancestor about what happened today, Yan Yu said coldly and turned to leave. The ancient heavenly emperor followed closely behind and charged into the void. Outside the void, Yan Yu signaled the ancient heavenly emperor to leave first. He could see through everything and observe Lu Feng. Lu Feng pretended to be angry and roared, "Ancient heavenly emperor, you dare to doubt me? Have I killed fewer people than you? For Lord Yin Yang Ancestor, I was willing to be cursed by the world. Now, I'm being humiliated by you. You've gone too far. When Yin Yang Ancestor returns, I'll get justice for you." Boom! Lu Feng's palm shattered the garden. He was burning with anger and killing intent. The people of Heaven Conquering Camp retreated in fear. Yan Yu looked at Lu Feng's anger and shook his head. He didn't say anything else and left. At this moment, Yan Yunbei had arrived at the gathering place of the Kuang Manor's army. The army was pretending to be searching for the people of the Kuang Manor. Yan Yunbei and the Bone Sage were hiding among them. It was hard to imagine that the Kuang Manor was right under their noses. Yan Yunbei was heavily injured and was covered in wounds. He thought that he would die this time. But not only did he not die, he even saved more than 10,000 people. It was a blessing in disguise. "Hu!" Yan Yunbei breathed out a mouthful of turbid air. His body was covered in blood. He was grateful for Lu Feng's help, but he was also worried that Lu Feng wouldn't be able to get away and expose the Kuang Manor's army. However, the news soon spread that Lu Feng had gotten away. The Kuang Manor was safe for now. Chapter 29-25. The ancient immortal world was frightening, and the edge of the universe was even more frightening. The former Hall Master of Class 1 Hall, Chu Shijun, drew his sword and was as fast as lightning. He killed one person with each step and stole the soul of an immortal. Puchi. Ah, the Liang Emperor's sword pierced through the hearts of his enemies. From the Taigu Emperor to the ordinary spies, Chu Shijun's killing intent was terrifying. He killed his way from the center of the universe to the edge. Corpses covered the road, and blood dyed the sky red. Once Chu Shijun appeared, the Yen Emperor avatar immediately retreated and stared at the edge. The immemorial Yin Yang had been restrained by Yi Qinghan for hundreds of years. He was unable to severely injure Yi Qinghan. Instead, he was scolded by the divine bird until he was about to vomit blood. Supreme Yi never repeated his scolding. He guessed the immemorial Yin Yang's position several times, causing the immemorial Yin Yang to fly into a rage. During these hundreds of years, Yi Qinghan used the immemorial Yin Yang's attacks to explore and strengthen himself. His physical body and realm were close to the progenitor realm, and he could fight the immemorial Yin Yang head-on. However, he was still unable to break the Yin Yang 8 trigrams formation. However, the immemorial Yin Yang was restrained by Yi Qinghan and could not personally inform Yan Yu. "We can't keep wasting time like this. The Yen Emperor can be resurrected at any time." The immemorial Yin Yang frowned and looked at the Yen Emperor's Dharma body in the sky, waiting for an opportunity. A cold light flashed and suddenly split into two. The Yin and Yang separated. The immemorial Yin attacked the Yen Emperor's Dharma body while the immemorial Yang Dharma body guarded the formation, trapping Yi Qinghan in place. Hum! Whoosh! The Yin Yang Emperor sword struck the sky and went straight for the Yen Emperor Great Tao. It wanted to take the life of the Yen Emperor avatar before informing Yan Yu to come and kill Yi Qinghan together. Boom! Bang bang bang! Whoosh whoosh whoosh! The human Emperor sword's momentum shook the sky. Although the Yen Emperor avatar was severely injured, it was still unwilling to admit defeat. It drew its sword and attacked the immemorial Yin Yang, delaying it for as long as possible. In the blink of an eye, the two terrifying supremes had exchanged more than 1,000 moves. Yi Qinghan stepped forward, punching out with his iron fists and kicking with his long legs. He kept attacking the formation, but Primeval Extreme Yang managed to block his attacks with the help of the formation. However, he didn't dare to charge forward anymore. The battle between the two battlefields shook the heavens and cracked the earth. Ancestral blood dyed the void red. In order to kill the Yen Emperor's celestial body, the immemorial Absolute Yin attacked the Yen Emperor's celestial body in a suicidal manner. The mortal Emperor's sword pierced through the immemorial Absolute Yin's body, but it did not hit any vital points. On the other hand, the immemorial Absolute Yin was injured in exchange for the Yen Emperor's celestial body's life. Boom! Bang! The Flame Emperor's celestial body was pierced through the heart by the Emperor's sword, and the celestial body collapsed. Whoosh! The Flame Emperor's celestial body punched the chest of the primordial Absolute Yin with its dying breath, almost killing the primordial Absolute Yin. Boom! Whoosh! The immemorial Absolute Yin palm struck the forehead of the Yen Emperor Avatar. In the blink of an eye, the progenitor was severely injured and the Avatar was destroyed. Without anyone controlling the Yen Emperor's great Tao, it automatically returned to the depths of the firmament. Puff! The immemorial Absolute Yin palm spat out a mouthful of essence blood. However, she endured the injury and slashed her sword across the firmament, severely injuring several experts of the insane mansion. Mu Zhuang, Chu Shijun, Gu Qingyu, and Huolingtian's divine weapons were almost broken. Whoosh! The immemorial Absolute Yin palm did not want to kill them directly. These were all secondary. Killing Yi Qinghan was the most important thing. Whoosh! Whoosh! The immemorial Absolute Yin palm rushed into the depths of the universe. She alone could not control the immemorial Yin-Yang Great Tao to send a message across countless miles. She had to be close to the ancient immortal world to inform Yenyu. Yi Qinghan was enraged when he saw the immemorial Absolute Yin kill the Yen Emperor's celestial body. He smashed a bronze mirror with a punch and forced the immemorial Absolute Yang out. With a kick, he broke the firmament and blasted the immemorial Absolute Yang out of the array. The array shattered. Yi Qinghan was furious. After being suppressed for hundreds of years, it was time for him to show his prowess. The immemorial Yin-Yang Great Tao only has half of its combat strength. Bang bang bang. Boom. Yi Qinghan punched continuously. Every punch created a terrifying shockwave that destroyed the dead stars. In the world of martial arts, only speed was invincible. Both of them unleashed their combat strength to the extreme. Flames soared into the sky as they fought. In a moment, both of them were hit by at least 10 punches from each other. Their heads were bleeding non-stop. Boom! Yi Qinghan kicked the immemorial Absolute Yang's head and smashed it into a dead star. The terrifying shockwave shattered everything and the dead star was shattered into pieces. Die! Yi Qinghan roared. His body turned into a divine weapon and crazily slammed into the immemorial Absolute Yang. The immemorial Absolute Yang was still an ancestor. At this moment, it waved its hand and gathered energy to form a heaven-piercing sword. It ruthlessly attacked Yi Qinghan. Boom! Yi Qinghan's fist smashed into the sharp sword, causing it to crumble. His momentum was exhausted, and he was kicked in the chest by the primordial Yin-Yang. His chest nearly collapsed, and his body, which was not part of the 5 elements, could not withstand the attack of a progenitor. Puff! The two of them coughed up blood. Without even thinking, they attacked each other again. They punched and kicked. Their knees were even fiercer than divine weapons. Their leg bones were broken. Arbitrary! Yi Qinghan roared. Today, the immemorial Absolute Yang body has fallen. Let's see how you are going to be arbitrary. Boom! Whoosh! The huge hand that covered the sky shattered the sky and fiercely slapped at the immemorial Absolute Yang. The immemorial Absolute Yang flashed with a cold light. With a wave of his hand, he defied the heavens. The power of the great Tao and myriad arts captured a huge dead star and fiercely collided with the huge hand. The huge hand imprint bombarded the dead star. The dead star was shattered and the two of them were sent flying at the same time. Wherever it passed, whether it was the experts of Kuang Fu or Class 1 Hall, they were all killed. There were too many casualties. Those who could stay at the border were the first, second, and third generation experts of Kuang Fu. They had lived until now, but they were killed by the aftermath of the ancestor realm. It was a pity, but there was nothing they could do. Screams filled the sky. The day of the final battle was like this. It was quite tragic. Ah, Yi Qinghan roared. His face was ferocious as he watched the experts of Kuang Fu fall. He directly jumped through space and punched out with his right fist. His left arm turned into an elbow strike, shattering all order and pressing down on the immemorial Absolute Yang. The immemorial Absolute Yang was terrified. His combination of Yin and Yang could defeat Yi Qinghan, but once he was separated, he would be defeated by Yi Qinghan. But time waited for no one. He didn't want to waste it, so he had to take the risk. Whoosh! The immemorial Absolute Yang began to flee toward the center, and Yi Qinghan chased after him. Bang! Whoosh! With a wave of his hand, he plucked stars and seized souls. He gathered his qi into a sword and pierced through the galaxy. At the edge of the universe, the most tragic battle began. Whoosh! The rainbow light pierced through the edge of the universe. The collapsing universe wanted to devour the endless wilderness. Whether it was the experts of Kuang Fu or Class 1 Hall's army, as long as they were harvested by the collapsing space, there was no chance of survival. Yi Qinghan wanted to save him, but he didn't have the chance. Because he could only barely suppress the immemorial Absolute Yang, but if he was careless, he would lose the whole game. Between experts, the slightest difference could make a difference of 1,000 miles. At this time, the immemorial Absolute Yin had already rushed to the center. He mobilized the immemorial Yin-Yang Great Tao and pierced through the universe, rushing into the depths of the ancient immortal world. Yan Yu looked up and knew that the situation was bad. He immediately flew away, stepping into the depths of the universe from the ancient immortal world. Chapter 29-26. The great Tao of Yin and Yang pierced through the sky and the great Tao of the universe. At the same time, everyone quieted down and looked at the great Tao of Yin and Yang in the sky. Primordial extreme Yin and Yen Yu had returned. Yi Qinghan alone couldn't hold up the sky. Did they lose? Gu Qingyu and the others looked at the sky helplessly. They knew what this meant. Yi Qinghan forced primordial extreme Yang back with a single punch. He took a deep breath and sighed, "Time waits for no one." He sighed helplessly. Time waits for no one. Everyone, gather. Yi Qinghan retreated 1,000 miles and ordered the experts. Now, there weren't many left. Those who survived were all experts among experts. They had suffered heavy losses. However, the enemy had suffered even more losses. More than half of the 12 primordial gods and the 12 Taigu emperors were dead, and a few were heavily injured. Whoosh! Everyone retreated and gathered in one place. Yi Qinghan attacked primordial extreme Yang crazily, hoping to kill him. However, primordial extreme Yang retreated countless miles and stopped attacking. He wanted to delay until Yen Yu and primordial extreme Yin arrived. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yi Qinghan saw that there was no chance and immediately retreated. There were less than 300 people left. Back then, there were tens of thousands of people who retreated to the border. Now, there were only a few hundred left. In addition, there were more than 10,000 experts disguised as first-grade Supreme Masters. More than half of them had died. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan waved his hand, and the universe in his sleeves could contain the world. He brought a large group of experts and escaped 1,000 miles away. A few months later, Yan Yu and Primordial Extreme Yin arrived. They combined their yin and yang, and their ancestral might was vast. They scanned the surroundings, trying to find Yi Qinghan and Yan Emperor. He can't have escaped far. Surround the entire border. Primordial Extreme Yin Yang said angrily. Class 1 Hall had suffered heavy losses, but the army and spies were still there. Countless people formed an alliance and pressed toward the border. Whoosh! 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 Yan Yu and Primordial Extreme Yin Yang used the Great Tao to spy on the border of the universe. Nothing could escape their divine senses. In the distance, Yi Qinghan was standing alone on a dead star, riding on a crimson flame. He held a 7-foot-long berserker in his hand. His eyes could see through all things as he exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. I can't keep hiding like this. They'll find me sooner or later. Yi Qinghan muttered to himself. He had yet to step into the ancestor realm, and even if he did, he would at most be able to kill an immemorial yin-yang expert. If Yan Yu attacked again, he would definitely lose. He still needed the Flame Emperor to return. Time, the most important thing was still time. Yi Qinghan needed to buy enough time for the Flame Emperor. Otherwise, not to mention the Flame Emperor, even he himself would die. What should we do? Yi Qinghan's eyes shone with a cold light as he pondered silently. He raised his eyes to look at the two great progenitors patrolling the border. A cold light flashed in his eyes as he said in a sinister voice, "It seems that we can only besiege Wei to rescue Zhao." Pa! Yi Qinghan patted Crimson Flame and said in a deep voice, "I've already hidden the Flame Emperor in a safe place. Let's go to the ancient immortal world, the Primal Chaos Heavenly Domain, and the Qiu Heaven Domain. I want to see what's hidden in the Primal Chaos Heavenly Domain and the Qiu Heaven Domain." Hiss! Crimson Flame let out a long hiss as he stepped on the void and turned into a bolt of lightning, charging towards the center of the universe. Da-da-da! Boom! Crimson Flame was too fast, as though he was twisting time and space. Whoosh! A man and a horse streaked across the void like a meteor, quickly alerting the secret agents of Class 1 Hall. The secret agents all returned to the border. At this moment, the two progenitors joined forces and rushed towards the dark moon star. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! A large number of experts sped up to intercept them. Whistling arrows pierced through the clouds and exploded in the depths of the sky. Immemorial Yin Yang turned his head to look at the three Taigu emperors rushing over and asked in a deep voice, "What's the matter?" Report. Yi Qinghan rode Crimson Flame and rushed towards the ancient immortal world. Immemorial Yin Yang was shocked and immediately roared, "Return to the ancient immortal world and protect Qiu Tian Domain." Qiu Tian Domain was too important. Once Yi Qinghan stepped in, it would be easy for him to step into the progenitor realm. At that time, it would be even harder to catch him. Yan Yu and Immemorial Yin Yang broke through the void and joined forces to collapse the universe as they rushed towards the ancient immortal world. The distance was too far. It would take a long time for the progenitor realm to cross the universe. However, their speed was faster than Crimson Flame and Yi Qinghan. If they charged without any regard for their lives, they would be able to catch up to Yi Qinghan before reaching the ancient immortal world. Hiss! Crimson Flame let out a long hiss as it turned into a ball of flame. It stepped on the dead stars and swept through the void, disappearing in a flash. No one could catch up to it. This was a truly powerful spiritual pet, much stronger than the so-called dark python dragon and multicolored snake. It was a great help to the Flame Emperor. The two progenitor realm experts were chasing while Yi Qinghan was rushing forward. A large number of Class 1 Hall's loyalists were blocking, using their lives to stop Yi Qinghan's footsteps. Boom! Bang! The expert in the fourth state directly self-destructed, wanting to stop Crimson Flame. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed as he waved his hand and gathered his energy into a spear. It pierced through the void and killed the expert who was about to self-destruct. Whoosh! Countless spears broke through the void, and even the stars were shattered. Yi Qinghan was opening up a path. Crimson Flame did not need to dodge at all. Spacetime split and everything avoided him. However, the distance between the two parties was still closing. After running for more than a month, Crimson Flame felt a little weak under swift movement. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and swept Crimson Flame away as he started to run on his own. Whoosh! Space constantly distorted as Yi Qinghan jumped continuously. He was getting closer and closer to the ancient immortal world. Yi Qinghan noticed that the two progenitor realm experts were chasing him even tighter. He immediately changed his direction and fled into the distance. The two progenitor realm experts had already discovered Yi Qinghan's tracks. How could they let him escape? The two of them joined hands and continuously shattered the void, waving their palms to cover the sky. They wanted to kill Yi Qinghan on the spot. Two wings appeared on Yi Qinghan's back. One was Yi Qinghan's, and the other was the god-devouring eagle. It increased Yi Qinghan's speed. Although it did not have much of an effect, it was still somewhat useful. Supreme Yi stood on Yi Qinghan's shoulder and transformed into his original form. He roared at the back, "Flame Emperor will wake up in 3 days. You two bastards can slowly chase after him. Yin-yang person, you thing that's neither male nor female. Be careful that Yan Yu behind you will explode your big black chrysanthemum." Supreme Yi cursed. He knew that it was useless, but he still wanted to anger the primordial yin-yang. The primordial yin-yang burned with anger. A palm shattered countless miles and headed straight for Yi Qinghan. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's foot shattered the void and the universe collapsed. His figure flashed and rushed out of the attack range. Huff, 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 Yi Qinghan's breathing became hurried. He was still not an ancestor after all. Being chased by 2 ancestors was equivalent to 3 ancestors. It would be a lie to say that he was not nervous. If he was not careful, he would die. There was no miracle. Boom! Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At the top of the sky, dark clouds and lightning filled the sky. They turned into true dragons and charged into the galaxy, wanting to stop Yi Qinghan's footsteps. Humph! Yi Qinghan snorted. He was no longer in the 5 elements. Lightning attacks had no effect on his physical body. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan shuttled through the lightning. His body was a little numb. This was the origin of lightning. It was incomparably powerful. The aura in his body was obviously stagnant. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Yi Qinghan roared and shattered the origin of lightning in his body. He began to turn and rush toward the edge of the universe. He took a big arc, wanting to shake off the two of them. At this moment, on the starting ground's dead star, vitality was boundless. The 9-colored Brahma heart was lush and overflowing. Divine flowers bloomed and mobilized the origin of life. Endless energy rushed from the depths of the sky into the starting ground. Whoosh! Boom! In an instant, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The heavens mourned and strange phenomena appeared. At this moment, the 2 ancestors finally stopped and stared at the sky. Cold sweat broke out on their backs. It's over, Yan Yu and the primordial yin-yang finally showed a trace of fear and shock in their eyes. The Flame Emperor's great Tao came out. It stood above the sky and pierced through the universe. Chapter 29-27. Actually, before the immemorial yin-yang killed the Flame Emperor's Dharma body, the Flame Emperor's eyebrows showed signs of a soul gathering. When a strand of soul gathered in the sea of consciousness, there was a root. The majestic body laid in the nine-colored Brahman heart. With a slight movement of his fingertip, the starting ground was enveloped by a myriad of laws. The nine-colored Brahman heart's vitality became even more vigorous. Endless energy gathered and the scattered souls gathered bit by bit. Whoosh! An extremely beautiful lady appeared in the sky above the nine-colored Brahman heart and danced. The sound of nature gathered and a strand of enchanting celestial body floated up. The beauty of the world was fully displayed here. The nine-colored light above the Flame Emperor illuminated the mountains and rivers. Dead stars turned into living stars. Life was everywhere. Whoosh! Precious light flowed and the Flame Emperor's body shone brightly. His originally withered flesh and blood were filled again. His handsome face was young and vigorous. It was hard to imagine how many changes a young war god had endured. The #1 emperor in the world. Ancient gods, ancient immortals, and flame people were all inferior to him. When the Flame Emperor reaches the top, even the heavens will be a human. Now that he had crossed the ages and returned, although he did not show himself, the ancestor realm experts were terrified. That was prestige. A high merit could shake the master. The dead could also intimidate the ages. Even those who ruled the ages would be afraid. Above the Flame Emperor path, the human emperor's sword stood at the peak of the sky. Its light illuminated the universe. In the blink of an eye, it pierced through the void and disappeared without a trace. The stars moved and the void broke into the starting ground. Boom! The human emperor's sword stabbed into the Flame Emperor's side. It was so tragic that even the sky shook. Yi Qinghan stood on crimson flame and held berserk in his hand. He sneered at the two ancestor realm experts. Even without entering the ancestor realm, I can still kill you two traitors. Yi Qinghan roared and said disdainfully. Yan Yu and the immemorial Yin Yang were shocked and furious. They did not expect that they would still miscalculate. If not for Yi Qinghan's obstruction, the Flame Emperor would not have returned. Kill Yi Qinghan first. Yan Yu said furiously. Whoosh! The human emperor's pagoda rushed to the sky and covered the space. It wanted to cut off Yi Qinghan's escape route. Roar! With the yin-yang unification and the emperor's sword out of its scabbard, the fighting strength of two peak ancestor realm experts was not something that a single person could contend against. Now that the Yen Emperor had returned, even if he had reached the peak, he would not be able to contend against the two of them alone. Moreover, he had yet to reach the peak. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan urged his crimson flames to turn around and flee. How could he be willing to fight head-on? The dawn of victory was right in front of him. If he were to die now, it would be too much of a loss. Catch up to me first. Yi Qinghan fled again. However, he did not flee in the direction of the Yen Emperor. He was afraid that the Yen Emperor would not be able to return completely and lose all hope. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Yi Qinghan fled with all his might while the two ancestor realm experts pursued him with all their might. This time, it was either Yi Qinghan dying or the two ancestor realm experts hiding in the chaos celestial domain. The primal chaos heavenly domain was already under the complete control of the immemorial yin-yang immemorial palace. If they worked together with Yan Yu, Yi Qinghan and the Yen Emperor would not be able to achieve victory in the short term. As long as the primal chaos heavenly domain was not broken, Yi Qinghan would not be able to enter the seeking heaven domain. Without entering the seeking heaven domain, it would be unrealistic for him to step into the ancestor realm in a short period of time. The two ancestor realm experts had a way out, but they did not want to take that path. How could an ancestor realm expert hide like a tortoise? It was not easy for them to reach the top. If they were to be chased by two juniors like a tortoise hiding in its shell, they would rather die. At this moment, in the ancient immortal world, the Yen Emperor's great Tao pierced through the void. Even the heavenly Tao of the ancient immortal world was blocked. Lu Feng was excited and overjoyed. The Yen Emperor's return meant that the crazy man's chances of victory had increased to 80 to 90%. At this moment, only the ancient heavenly emperor was silent. Looking at the Yen Emperor's great Tao covering the sky, a trace of reminiscence flashed across his eyes. In the immemorial era, a stalwart figure carried a young child. "Child, I am your uncle. You must remember that your parents were killed by the people of Elite Hall. Do not help the evildoers," the stalwart figure said with his back facing the sky. The child was the ancient heavenly emperor, and the stalwart figure was the Yen Emperor. The young ancient celestial emperor had extraordinary talent. After all, he was a descendant of the Yen clan and a divine general. He had a firm will and was very sensible. At that moment, he nodded resolutely and said in a crisp voice, "Uncle, before mother left, she told me not to become enemies with the Yen clan and not to work for Class 1 Hall." The Flame Emperor let out a bitter laugh as he hugged the ancient heavenly emperor and whispered, "From today onwards, you shall be called the ancient heavenly emperor. I hope that you will be an upright man in the future, just like your uncle. Cultivate the Flame Emperor's great Tao that I have given you with peace of mind. However, do not use it before you reach the great perfection realm. If I die in battle one day, do not trust anyone, not even your grandfather. Only trust yourself. Do you understand?" The ancient heavenly emperor nodded firmly. His mother had also told him that the Yen Emperor was an indomitable man, the hope of the Yen clan. Although he was young, he worshipped this uncle of his from the bottom of his heart. The tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. Learn to be patient and don't be like your uncle. If I die in battle, I only hope that you will do one thing in your life, and that is to kill the primordial yin-yang. The Yen Emperor said in a deep voice. "Uncle, I understand." The ancient heavenly emperor's big round eyes revealed a trace of wisdom as he said firmly. "Whoosh." The Yen Emperor imparted the Yen Emperor's great Tao to the ancient heavenly emperor's sea of consciousness and then sent him back. He looked at the ancient heavenly emperor for a long time before turning to leave. The ancient heavenly emperor's eyes were cold. He held the god-slaying sword and stared at the sky. He said in a hoarse voice, "Uncle, you are back. Unfortunately, there is no turning back." Crack, crack, crack. The ancient heavenly emperor held the divine sword tightly. It was unknown whether it was out of hatred or respect. He had killed too many people from the insane manor and too many people from the Yen clan. The Yen Emperor would not give him a way out, and neither would Yi Qinghan. Hiss hiss hiss, the ancient heavenly emperor took a deep breath and sat on the armchair. He closed his eyes and pondered for a long time. Whoosh! Gu Jiutian walked over slowly. His holy aura was vast and mighty. He looked at his father and said in a low voice, "Father, do you regret it?" Whoosh! The ancient heavenly emperor opened his cold eyes and replied coldly, "I will not regret every step I take. You can leave. My Gu clan cannot lose its legacy. You are still stubborn." In order to step into the progenitor realm, the Yen ancestor gave up on his own son and even his own clan. How much do you think he values you? Do you think he will help you step into the progenitor realm? Gu Jiutian roared indignantly. Progenitor realm? The ancient heavenly emperor took a deep breath and said coldly, "Woman, you do not understand my heart." Scram! Gu Jiutian was suppressed by the ancient heavenly emperor's aura and took a few steps back. Their eyes met. The ancient heavenly emperor's eyes seemed to be filled with killing intent. Gu Jiutian involuntarily took a few steps back. Whoosh! Whoosh! Gu Jiutian fled, leaving the ancient heavenly emperor. He had already gone mad. Just like the Yen ancestor, he did not recognize his own family. Whoosh! The ancient heavenly emperor stood up slowly. The god-vanquishing sword appeared and commanded the surroundings. All domain lords, lead the army to the outskirts of the chaos heavens and wait for the two progenitor realm lords to return, the ancient heavenly emperor said coldly. Whoosh whoosh. Countless signal arrows shot through the air and exploded in the sky. Following that, signal arrows shot up from every domain. Chapter 29-28. The ancient heavenly emperor was leaving an escape route for Yenyu. The primal chaos celestial domain was blocked by an army of experts. However, Yenyu did not want such an escape route. At the edge of the universe, two progenitor realm experts were chasing Yi Qinghan. The situation was precarious. Yi Qinghan and Qi Yan took turns to attack. Their speed had reached the limit and even broke through the shackles. It would be the other party's turn in 3 to 5 days. The two progenitor realm experts chased Yi Qinghan all over the universe. Everywhere they passed, there were no laws. There were a few times when they almost hit Yi Qinghan's body. The aftershocks caused his blood to become unstable and he almost fainted. It was the final moment. Yi Qinghan's desire to live was stronger than ever. There was no way to fight. He could only run. Whoosh, Yi Qinghan kept increasing his speed. The Yen Emperor's great Tao in the sky became denser and denser. The laws were clear and made all laws submit. This meant that the Yen Emperor's awakening was getting closer. The Yen Emperor would definitely awaken in 3 to 5 days. It might even take a month. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan flew away. Along the way, he encountered a star beast that was comparable to a star. It opened its fangs and seemed to want to devour him. If he wanted to go around it, he would be easily caught. Boom! Whoosh! Yi Qinghan slashed at the star beast's fangs and used the momentum to fly upward at a 90-degree angle. Roar! The star beast roared and opened its mouth to chase after Yi Qinghan. Its speed was even faster and its instantaneous explosive power was comparable to an progenitor realm expert. Whoosh! The void continued to collapse as it opened its sky-devouring mouth, almost swallowing Yi Qinghan whole. Bang! Yi Qinghan then viciously slapped the giant beast's upper lip, sending it flying into the clouds. At this moment, the immemorial yin-yang line was moving upward and formed a triangle with Yi Qinghan's route. His diagonal distance was shortened by a lot and he instantly caught up to Yi Qinghan. Roar! The Emperor's sword was unsheathed, shattering thousands of miles as it pierced towards Yi Qinghan's back. However, the huge star beast was infuriated because it couldn't capture Yi Qinghan. It turned around and bit towards the immemorial yin-yang. Bastard, the primordial yin-yang was infuriated. This giant beast happened to block his sword move. Whoosh! Bang! The Emperor's sword had cut off the fangs, and the star beast was in so much pain that it rolled and slammed into the immemorial yin-yang. This star beast was much denser than the Death Star. It had actually resisted the immemorial yin-yang's attack, and had directly pushed the immemorial yin-yang several million miles away. The distance between the primordial yin-yang and Yi Qinghan instantly widened. Roar! It was unknown how many years this star beast had existed in the world. It was incomparably powerful. Its back had blocked dozens of attacks from the immemorial yin-yang. A deep crack had appeared on its back, and blood was splashing everywhere. The star beast was enraged, and it kept pestering the immemorial yin-yang. Whoosh! Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh whoosh, Yi Qinghan took advantage of the momentum to escape, leaving only Yenyu to chase after him with the human Tao Emperor Pagoda. This greatly reduced the pressure on Yi Qinghan. Boom! Yi Qinghan gathered his qi as a saber, and the 7-foot heavy overturned mountains and rivers slammed into the human Tao Emperor Pagoda. He took advantage of the momentum to escape, and once again widened the distance between them. Hiss hiss hiss. Qi Yan had recovered more than half of his strength. He reappeared and fled with Yi Qinghan. A moment later, the immemorial Yin Yang's sword had actually split the star beast into two. The sky was dyed red with blood, and the angry roar reverberated for hundreds of millions of miles. Even the stars were shattered by the sound waves. The immemorial Yin Yang's hair was disheveled as he roared incessantly. Kill! We can't give him any more chances. Otherwise, we won't have another chance. The immemorial Yin Yang's face was ferocious. If they couldn't kill Yi Qinghan within 3 days, they would have to take the final step. Yi Qinghan wouldn't give them the chance to kill him at this time. He was fleeing madly in the universe. Although he was besieged by 2 ancestor realm experts, he could still escape for a few months with Qi Yan's help. Now, he had been fleeing for almost a month, and had almost circled half the universe. However, Yi Qinghan still hadn't escaped towards the dark moon star. Yan Yu and the immemorial Yin Yang, who were continuously chasing Yi Qinghan, also noticed the problem. They couldn't help but look towards the dark moon star. Let's go and try our luck. Yan Yu shouted angrily. Whoosh! Boom! The two of them joined forces and rushed towards the dark moon star. Yi Qinghan was shocked. He immediately held his saber and rushed back. The saber shattered the void and attacked the back of the 2 ancestor realm experts. Whoosh! Swish! The sword light swept across the universe and shattered the 7-foot heavy saber into a gaseous state. After all, it wasn't an ancestor artifact. It was just a divine weapon forcefully condensed into a berserk state. Its power wasn't as strong as the human Tao Emperor Pagoda or the immemorial Yin Yang Emperor sword. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan flew back a few hundred miles. His eyes were emitting rays of light. He controlled Qi Yan and rushed back without hesitation. Yan Yu and the immemorial Yin Yang were even more certain that the Yan Emperor's physical body was nearby. One of them blocked Yi Qinghan while the other bombarded the dark moon star. Boom! Whoosh! A shockwave blasted out 1,000,000 miles. Even the stars were destroyed. In the blink of an eye, it rushed out of a star region and headed straight for the dark moon star. The dark moon race was still on the dark moon star. Although the direct descendants were hiding in the dark, once the dark moon star was destroyed, the entire dark moon race would be annihilated. However, Yi Qinghan didn't have the ability to stop it because he was blocked by Yan Yu. You 2 bastards! Do you think the common people are ants? Yi Qinghan roared. He waved his hand and grabbed a dead star. He threw it at the human Tao Emperor Pagoda and kicked Yan Yu's body. Boom! Boom! Yan Yu kicked back with an even stronger force. The wind from his kick was even sharper than the sword Qi. The void was shattered. Talk about it if you can survive. You still care about the life and death of ants. Yan Yu roared in disdain. Boom! Boom! Crack! Both of their leg bones were broken, and their bodies were sent flying. At this moment, the immemorial Yin Yang attacked Yi Qinghan. As long as Yi Qinghan died, it didn't matter if the Yan Emperor returned or not. Hum! Whoosh! A sword ray shook the 9 heavens and headed straight for Yi Qinghan. Whoosh! Hiss hiss hiss! Qi Yan hissed and rushed into the void with Yi Qinghan. The sword Qi swept one of Qi Yan's legs and chopped it off. Roar! Qi Yan roared in anger. Blood splattered in the sky and he almost fell from the sky. Just as the sword Qi was about to hit the dark moon star, a figure suddenly appeared and formed a huge energy barrier. It crossed the dark moon star and blocked the sword Qi. Roar! Whoosh whoosh whoosh! The figure's battle robe fluttered in the wind and the corpse Qi did not dissipate. The Emperor's aura spread and caused thousands of Daos to roar. His clear eyes flashed with anger and killing intent. The Yan Emperor had awakened and rushed over at the critical moment. Yin Yang, Yan Yu, I'm back, whoosh. The Yan Emperor took a step forward and crossed a region to appear on the battlefield. However, Yan Yu seemed to have noticed the Yan Emperor in advance. Hence, the moment the Yan Emperor stepped forward, he flew back and escaped millions of miles away. Return to the chaotic heavenly domain, Yan Yu roared. He knew he had no chance. The Yan Emperor was back. As long as Yi Qinghan held him back, it was only a matter of time before the Yan Emperor killed the immemorial Yin Yang. The immemorial Yin Yang's hair stood. He did not care about killing Yi Qinghan and turned to leave. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two ancestor realm experts started to escape. They did not want to fight at all. Just like how they fought Yi Qinghan could not fight back. Now that the Yan Emperor had returned and joined forces with Yi Qinghan, they did not have much chance to fight back. At this moment, the Yan Emperor seemed to have not fully awakened. His eyes were a little dazed as he looked at the sky. The human sovereign sword in his hand whistled. The sword had not been unsheathed, but it was already shocking. The human sovereign sword told the Yan Emperor everything that happened after the Yan Emperor's soul was extinguished. The Yan Emperor slowly absorbed some of the memories and history and understood everything. The remnant will of the Yan Emperor's celestial body was not completely extinguished. Instead, it was gathered by the Yan Emperor's great Tao. Whoosh! The flaming emperor waved his hand, and the flaming emperor's great Tao merged into his sea of consciousness, making him even more powerful. Not only had he become an emperor, but he was only half a step away from reaching the top. In terms of cultivation level, he was slightly above Yi Qinghan. In terms of combat strength, he seemed to be much stronger than Yi Qinghan. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.